The kidnappers have taken me hostage. They called my family demanding a ransom, threatening to chop me up and mail me back in pieces if they don't pay you, Dad. I don't need another daughter. You won't get a single cent from me, brother. That jinx was long overdue for a dirt nap. Don't drag me into this. Younger sister. My sister is so pitiful. She's only 18 and hasn't even had a boyfriend yet. Please, just let her go. The kidnapper was furious, his eyes blazing as he closed in on me. I fell off a cliff while trying to escape. The moment I hit the ground, I thought, if I could do it all over again, I'd never take the fall for you guys again. My face was pressed against the hard ground, and my little sister's crying echoed behind me. Daddy, big sister fell all by herself. She's definitely going to say I pushed her. I'm so scared. Boo-hoo-hoo. I silently rose to my feet, staring blankly at my young, delicate hands. Memory flashback. I was reborn on the day of my 8th birthday. Dad frowned and asked, "What's going on with you?" I said. I felt Dad's brow smooth out, relieved he didn't have to deal with another hassle. That's right. Ever since I was born, anything to do with me has been troubled. My little sister's crying stopped. A moment later, she tugged at her father's sleeve with a beaming smile. Daddy, I drew a little bird. It's so pretty. Do you want to come and see? Okay. After they left, I started tending to the wound on my palm. The skin was scraped raw and caked with grit and dirt. Tears welled up unbidden, a silent testament to the pain. My brother watched the whole scene with cold indifference, then quietly muttered a few words. Useless. I didn't even look up. You saw it. She pushed me. Brother. So what? In my past life, I wept bitterly, demanding to know why my brother wouldn't help me. Was he even my real brother? Dad doesn't believe me because he's busy and my sister tricked him. I can understand my sister's behavior. She's my stepmother's daughter, so we've never been close, but my brother was supposed to be the one closest to me. After Mom died, we were meant to rely on each other. Why did he stay silent when he saw his sister push me, and even refuse to stand up for me when she lied? In this life, I won't ask why anymore, because I already knew the answer. In a past life, my brother once said, "You Ponching, I hate you. You're the one who killed Mom. Ever since you were born, I've had nothing but bad luck. Nothing has gone right for me." I tended to my wound in silence. My brother, finding it dull, soon left. After bandaging the wound, I went to the kitchen alone and rummaged through the fridge for something cold to eat. A piece of bread, a sausage, and 2 tomatoes. Nothing else was edible raw, though I remember how to cook from a past life. If I dared to turn on the gas stove, I'd definitely get a harsh scolding. We might get punished with no dinner, and all this food we worked so hard to find would just get thrown in the trash. I sliced the tomatoes and stuck the hot dog vertically into the bread. This is my birthday cake. I'm so grateful for this meal. Last life, I spent this day on an empty stomach. In the dead of night, I climbed alone to the rooftop terrace of the villa. There's a spectacular meteor shower tonight. Standing on the rooftop, a place both strange and familiar, I watched streaks of meteors paint the night sky. I quickly made a wish, the opposite of the one I made in my past life. In this life, Yi Ponching will bear only my own fate. I will no longer take on the misfortune for anyone else, especially not for my family. The meteors vanished, leaving the starry sky blinking down at me, as if to say, "We've heard your wish too." I slept very well that night. In my dream, many stars kept me company as I played. The next morning, a chaotic commotion erupted outside the door. My brother slipped on the slick stairs and broke his leg. It was only then that I remembered, in my past life, I was the one who broke my leg. At that time, I had just made a vow to take on my family's bad luck, and early in the morning, I went to knock on my brother's door, wanting to tell him that we wouldn't have any more bad luck from now on, because all the misfortune would end up being shouldered by me, his dearest little sister. My brother didn't open the door and told me to get lost. I walked down the stairs in disappointment and slipped. Dad took one look, scolded me for being so careless, and then told the driver to take me to the hospital. I ended up taking 2 months off school. When I went back, I couldn't keep up with the lessons. I went from being a straight-A student to falling behind in every subject. Dad didn't want to deal with it, so he had my older brother sign my report card. My brother looked at the painfully low scores, smiled at me, and said, "This is about what you deserve." Then drew a pig's head in the parent's signature area. I tore up the receipt in tears and was reprimanded at school the next day. Since then, not only did my grades suffer, but I also became quiet, withdrawn, and increasingly isolated. In my past life, I took on the bad luck of my brother breaking his leg. "I'll give you back this lifetime." My brother was wailing downstairs while I was quietly snickering upstairs, enraged. Dad kicked over the housekeeper and rushed my brother to the hospital himself. The stepmother fired the nanny immediately after the father left, but I caught a glimpse of the nanny leaving with a smile on her face. A corner of an envelope peeked out from her handbag. It looked quite thick, so that's how it was. I must have been a complete fool in my past life. My brother came home with a cast on his leg and crutches. He was in his final year of middle school, facing the high school entrance exams. Dad said the driver could take him to and from school every day, but my brother was too proud and refused to go to school. Dad said we'd hire the best private tutor to come to the house for one-on-one Lessons, my older brother agreed. I winced inwardly. With 6 subjects for the high school entrance exam, plus a few more that require passing grades. That's going to take a lot of tutoring hours and cost a fortune. Honestly, I'm the only one in the family who thinks this amount of money is a big deal. To everyone else, it's nothing, considering we live in a villa. I quietly packed my little backpack and headed out to catch the bus to school. This time around, I'm determined to be a good student all the way. I'm really happy at school. I got a perfect score, the teacher praised me, and I'm thrilled, running freely on the playground. Happy, made a few good friends. Happy, I want to stay happy, forever happy. Bad luck, that's not mine to carry. Get out, get out, get out. 3, my brother is really unlucky. My leg wasn't fully healed yet, and then I messed up my stomach again. The sound of the toilet flushing next door went on all night. It was too noisy, so I covered my ears with my pillow and went back to sleep. You must be feeling awful, big brother, but, so what? You are the master of your own fate. My older brother rummaged through the medicine cabinet and found some pills for an upset stomach. The pills were expired, and while my brother was taken to the hospital by ambulance, I went to school with my backpack. When my brother came back from the hospital, I almost didn't recognize him. Is this still my brother? The one who was a bit brooding yet always stood tall and handsome. Now his eyes are dull, his face gaunt and sallow, looking as though life has worn him down to the bone. After returning from the hospital, my brother became much quieter and spent all day locked in his room. I'm glad I don't have to deal with his sour face anymore, living my life happily every day. The house was unusually peaceful, but I know, this is just the calm before the storm. Something big is about to happen. A month later, just like in her previous life, my stepmother was pregnant. Even though she already had my sister, she was still fixated on having a son. To that end, she specifically underwent IVF and paid a hefty sum to bribe the doctor for gender selection. When Dad found out his wife was carrying his little son, he was overjoyed, with a smile permanently etched on his face. My brother isn't cooped up in his room anymore. He's gotten really into drones. Dad asked my brother, "Won't playing with this affect your high school entrance exams?" My brother replied, "No, it won't." "Good, don't let me down." Dad didn't press the matter. I caught the look in my brother's eyes in that instant. In the middle of the night, I woke up with a start from a dream about that look, my back drenched in cold sweat. A few days later, as I walked into the villa courtyard after school, a drone buzzed toward me. A yellow rose was suspended beneath the drone. My brother came out holding the remote control. "Hey sis, aren't the flowers pretty? I got them for you." I stared back at my brother, my expression icy, the proud, hopeful look in his eyes slowly shifted to one of confusion and embarrassment. I swung my backpack, knocking the drone out of the air, and stomped it into pieces. Ugh, I'm so fed up. I walked away before my brother could get angry. "Come back, pick up the flowers and apologize to me, or I'll never acknowledge you again." A furious shout came from behind. His older brother. A faint smile touched my lips. "So be it. Deny it then, as if I care." True to his word, my brother never called me little sister again, for I'm not my brother's only sister. He's been growing closer to his other sister. On a bright and sunny afternoon, the stepmother was taking a stroll in the courtyard. As an older expectant mother, she places great importance on daily exercise. The sis held the remote control, piloting the drone her brother had given her. The drone glides gracefully above the yard, its shadow darting like a dark, sleek fish, flickering in and out of view across the shimmering surface of the pool. My little sister's laughter echoed through the courtyard. My stepmother walked slowly, a hand on her waist, her kind gaze drifting toward my sister now and then. I stood at the window of my second-floor room, watching the scene below. The drone's persistent whine grated on my nerves, fraying my patience. The sound of curtains being drawn came from the adjacent room. A vivid image flashed into my mind. The brother stood by the window, his gaze slipping through the curtain slits to look coldly at the mother and daughter in the yard. "Mom, smile for the camera," my little sister shouted gleefully, maneuvering the drone in circles above our stepmother's head. Our stepmother looked up, smiling and waving. Suddenly, the drone went out of control, plummeted down, and struck our stepmother squarely on the forehead. Her smile froze on her face as she toppled backward into the swimming pool. "Mom," my sister gasped in surprise. The sound of the remote control hitting the floor and the stepmother splashing into the water happened at the same time. When the gardener and the nanny pulled the stepmother out of the swimming pool, she had already lost consciousness. Bright red blood flowed from her body, staining the emerald pool crimson. Dad rushed over with a dark expression, slapped his sister hard across the face, then had someone take his stepmother to the hospital. The little sister collapsed onto the ground, sobbing loudly, with the broken drone lying at her feet. The older brother went downstairs, holding his younger sister and soothing her with gentle words. "It's not your fault, it was an accident." As his sister's sobs subsided, the brother picked up the drone and smashed it to pieces. "This is my fault, I shouldn't have given this to you." Having said that, he threw all the drone fragments into the trash bin. That night, all the trash was hauled away by the sanitation trucks. Father didn't return until the next day, his face ashen and defeated. His youngest son was gone. The stepmother hemorrhaged severely and had to undergo a hysterectomy. She was in the hospital for half a month before she could return home. The stepmother didn't blame her younger sister. Dad only slapped my sister that one time. Her brother tried every possible way to comfort her. That whole matter blew over pretty quickly. Dad started paying attention to my older brother's studies again. It seemed like the family had found its harmony once more. But why should it be that way? In my past life, my father beat me so badly I ended up in the hospital. Her stepmother, in a fit of rage, forced her head into the toilet, scolded mercilessly by my older brother. I weep, begging for everyone's forgiveness. No one forgives me, so this time, I won't forgive them either. Everyone should be accountable for their own actions. A few days later, I deliberately brought up my brother in conversation with the nanny, praising him in every way. The nanny didn't think much of it. Isn't it perfectly normal for a little sister to look up to her big brother? Besides, my brother really is outstanding. My brother isn't just a great student and good looking, he can even program and control drones. Isn't he amazing? The door behind them made a sound, as if it had bumped into something. I didn't look back. The stepmother is behind the door. She must have heard what I said. A month later, my older brother took the high school entrance exam. He was beaten up by a group of thugs who mistook him for someone else, breaking a bone in his hand. My brother, who had always been a top student, failed the high school entrance exam. He couldn't even get into the most ordinary high school and had to settle for a vocational school. Father decided to send his older brother abroad for studies. My stepmother joined my father's company recently, and I hear she's doing quite well. On the day of departure, my brother's mood was so gloomy you could practically wring the sorrow out of it. 5. My brother left. My stepmother joined the company, and my father remained as busy as ever. He's working on a major project that could bring in an absolute fortune if it succeeds. That evening, my father brought home a laptop and practiced the presentation on it over and over, until his voice grew hoarse. The next morning, dressed formally and carrying the laptop, he was about to head out and completely ignored me as I came down from the second floor. On the same day in my past life, I had taken the initiative to walk over and hand him a glass of water. His lips were chapped, and his voice was still a little raspy. I think he'll feel better after drinking some water. Father swatted my arm away with displeasure and snapped, "Stop messing around. I have an important speech to give." His hand accidentally hit my nerve, and the cup of water fell onto the laptop. My father flew into a rage, kicking me so hard that I was sent flying, and the back of my head slammed heavily against the wall. I passed out on the spot. My father had the nanny take me to the hospital while he went on to give his presentation to an important client. I suffered a severe concussion and still have lingering symptoms after discharge: dizziness, headaches, memory loss, slowed reaction, and depression. In my past life, these lingering effects haunted me until my life ended at the foot of a cliff when I was 18. Thinking about it, my head started aching again. So in this life, I've avoided both my father and water cups like they were ghosts. I didn't head to school until I made sure my father had left safely by car. Then I slung my backpack over my shoulder and went. The moment I stepped out of the villa gate, an ear-splitting, air-rending screech pierced my eardrums. It was the desperate screech of tires against asphalt, as if time itself had stretched thin. Then came a sudden burst of sounds, metal clashing, glass shattering, and screams from the crowd. I suddenly turned my head toward the source of the sound. Houses and greenbelts blocked my view, so I couldn't see the scene of the car accident. But my gut told me it was my father. In my past life, did he avoid that car crash? Because the glass of water I handed him made him leave a few minutes later. A wave of conflicting emotions washed over me, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the end, I just silently adjusted the strap of my school bag on my shoulder. "We're going to be late if we don't leave now." Made it to school without a hitch. Seeing the strict teachers and the enthusiastic classmates, I felt right at home. My headache seems to have gone away too. That's great. I returned to the cold, empty villa inn. The evening, my stepmother and sister had gone to visit my hospitalized father, leaving me alone in a house with no dinner. Luckily, I had come prepared and pulled out the instant noodles I'd bought from the school store, a cup of boiling water, 3 minutes, and dinner was served. After finishing my school assignments, I pulled out a practice test and started working through the problems. I'm going to give it my all starting in elementary school. Only the knowledge I've learned is truly mine. Everything else, for now, I have nothing. I was in bed and asleep by 10 o'clock sharp. After all, it's still elementary school. Keeping kids healthy and growing strong is what matters most. In my past life, I was constantly shit of luck, always getting hurt or sick. At 18, I was as scrawny as a bean sprout. Otherwise, maybe I could have outrun those kidnappers. At 1 a.m., a loud knocking at the door woke me up. It's the stepmother and the younger sister. The stepmother looked utterly exhausted, and my sister's eyes were puffy and red, but the way they both glared at me was identical. Truly mother and daughter. "Sister, Dad's been in a car accident. How can you just sleep through this?" "Oh, I didn't know. No one told me." The sister paused, then grew even angrier, saying, "We haven't come home for so long. Couldn't you have called to check on us?" I called. "Did you pick up?" I show the missed call log on my phone. I did call. Even if I hung up after just one ring each time, no one would have answered no matter how many times I called. My sister was just looking for an excuse to take it out on me. With her excuse cut off, my younger sister was left speechless. My stepmother spoke coldly. Your father hit his head and needs to be hospitalized for a while. I'm busy with the company, so from now on, you'll have to manage your own meals and try to handle school matters yourself. With that, she took my sister by the hand and left. I shut the door and rolled my eyes. If you want me to handle it myself, then at least give me the money. Are you seriously expecting a little kid like me to go hungry? As it turns out, they actually could. Dad's in the hospital, my brother's abroad, my stepmom took my sister and is never home, the cook and the housekeeper are on vacation too, all that's left is the gatekeeper. The kitchen is completely bare, even a rat would run in and leave in tears. Thankfully, I had the foresight to stash away some money. It's not much, but if I stick to steamed buns, pickled vegetables, and instant noodles, it'll tide me over for a while. If all else fails, you can always grab a couple of things from your room to sell for cash. I've been through this situation before in a past life. I was so naive back then. He was too proud to ask for help even when starving, and ended up passing out from low blood sugar. Getting a second chance at life has given me clarity. What's the big deal about saving face? I'm done with that. Let others feel awkward if they want to. My body is that of a primary school student, a budding flower of the nation. How can I survive on just steamed buns and instant noodles every day? So I started knocking on my neighbor's door every now and then. Grandpa Song, no one's home with me. Can I join you for dinner? Aunt Fong, what delicious food are you making? It smells so good. The neighbors always welcome me warmly. He's just a grade schooler. How much could he possibly eat? It's just a matter of setting an extra place at the table. Besides, this is a gated community of villas. It's not like anyone here is strapped for cash. My father only found out about my little begging trip to the neighbor's house after he got home. He hit the roof. I said flatly, there's no food at home, and I'm broke. If you're broke, why didn't you just call and ask me for money? Oh, my phone got cut off for non-payment. Top it up for me first. My father's head, injured from the collision, began to ache again, too exhausted to argue with me any further. He let the matter drop. The stepmother faced no criticism. She landed that major project while her father was in the hospital, and her standing in the company shot straight up. 6. Once I stopped taking on my family's bad luck, they started having it themselves. Dad, big brother, little sister, and stepmom. They're either having a streak of bad luck or are just about to get caught in the rain on the way out. Come home to find the internet's down. Wake up with a fever in the morning. Take a tumble in the afternoon. It might be a slight exaggeration, but that's pretty much a snapshot of their daily lives. Strangely, the family business was doing even better than in the previous life. The company made a lot of money, though the money isn't mine. It's not a bad thing. With the reputation of being the Yi family's daughter, no one at school dared to bully me. It's a bit of a shame, really. All that time I spent training in Sonda, and I've never had a chance to use it. My father had more than his fair share of bad luck, combined with the lingering effects of a car accident. He was unable to work most of the time, so more and more of the company's affairs fell into my stepmother's hands. After returning from studying abroad, my brother joined the family business. It wasn't long before factional infighting broke out within the company. The stepmother and the older brother constantly clashed, each gaining the upper hand at times. While the father played the role of mediator and arbitrator, I feel like an outsider. In my past life, my family saw me as a jinx, believing that anyone who got close to me would be tainted by bad luck. This time it's their turn to suffer, yet they still find fault with me. Just in different words, they say I'm a jinx, bringing bad luck to the whole family. But is there a chance that their fate was just doomed to be unlucky, and I could take on their bad luck instead? I won't be telling them any of this. I'll work hard to get into a good university in the future. After turning 18, I'll leave here and set up my own household registration. This isn't home, just a temporary lodging. 7. I'm like a weed, growing tenaciously in a corner no one pays attention to. From elementary school through junior and senior high, my grades consistently ranked among the top. I was always the last one in my previous life. My body was much healthier than in my previous life, and even my height had increased by several centimeters. Looking at my tall, healthy reflection in the mirror, I clenched my fist. You've got this, Yi. Ponching, tomorrow is the college entrance exam. A little over 10 days after the exam ends will be my 18th birthday. The day I leave is getting closer and closer. Before going to bed, I carefully checked the folder containing my exam supplies and slept with it tucked under my pillow all night. Gaokao Day. I woke up in the morning and had instant noodles in my room for breakfast. Even though I knew a hearty breakfast was prepared at home, I didn't dare to eat it. On such a crucial day, I couldn't afford to let anything go wrong. Downstairs, the stepmother was watching her younger sister eat with a kind, affectionate expression. My sister is only 10 days younger than me. We took the same college entrance exam together. I was about to head out with the file folder in hand. The younger sister suddenly spoke up. Yi Ponching, let me see your exam admission ticket. I paused mid-step, turned around slowly, and handed over the document folder. My younger sister took out my admission ticket. and compared it with her own. What a shame, we're not in the same exam hall. Yeah, I was hoping to give you a ride, but I guess that's not happening now. It's fine, taking the bus is pretty convenient anyway. My younger sister put the exam admission ticket back into the folder, zipped it up, and handed it back to me. I took it and walked away without looking back. A faint snicker echoed from behind. I didn't open the file folder until I got on the bus. Sure enough, the exam admission slip. Inside wasn't mine, it had been replaced with my sister's. It was the same in my previous life, only I realized it when I arrived at the exam hall, sweating with anxiety. I hurriedly hailed a taxi to rush to my sister's exam venue to make the switch. By the time I arrived, my sister had already entered the exam hall, and I couldn't find her anywhere. I rushed back to my exam room to explain the situation to the invigilator. After verification, I was allowed to take the exam, but I was already 10 minutes late, with 10 minutes less on the clock and my focus completely thrown off. The outcome of my first exam was all too predictable. The subsequent exams in the vicious cycle also went poorly. Back in my previous life, during my senior year of high school, my grades improved significantly. If I had performed normally, I could have easily gotten into a second-tier university, and with a bit more effort, I might have even made it into a first-tier one. In the end, the result was that I only made it to the third-tier college cutoff. I confronted my sister, demanding to know why she had switched her admission ticket. My sister casually remarked, "Just a mix-up." She even asked me why I didn't prepare in advance, like she did, by printing an extra copy of my admission ticket as a backup. No one blamed the younger sister. No one cares about my college entrance exam results either. When the scores came out, they sneered. "You did pretty well, didn't you? How could you have been affected?" At the memory, my fingers tightened, crumpling my sister's exam admission ticket into a wrinkled ball in my palm. As I got off the bus, I threw the trash into the bin and pulled a new admission ticket from my pocket. I learned my lesson and printed a backup copy of my admission ticket in advance. After silencing and storing my phone, I walked confidently toward the exam hall. Bring it on, college entrance exam. Outside another examination hall, the younger sister sat in the back seat of the luxury car, repeatedly dialing her phone. The stepmother sitting beside her asked, "Still can't get through? That Jinx keeps ignoring my calls." "Forget it, just gonna gross her out a little anyway." As she spoke, the stepmother picked up her sister's file bag again to check, making sure the admission ticket inside was correct. Seeing her stepdaughter still holding the phone and dialing, the stepmother casually placed the file folder on the seat between them. When getting off the vehicle, both of them assumed the file folder was in the other person's hands. Only temporary parking is allowed outside the examination hall. The driver dropped the person off and left immediately, dressed to the nines in an elegant cheapo and high heels. The stepmother stood out conspicuously among the crowd of mothers seeing their children off for the exam, basking in the envious glances. The stepmother held her head high all the way as she escorted her daughter to the security checkpoint. The younger sister reached out her hand. "Let me take the bag for you." "What bag?" They stared at each other, then screamed in unison. It was just a minor hiccup. My sister still made it into the exam hall before the test began. Luckier than I was in my past life. Whether it affected her composure, though, is anyone's guess. The worst off was the driver. He got fired. 8. The college entrance exam has ended successfully, and I performed steadily. As my 18th birthday draws near, my heart feels like it's tied with a rope that grows tighter each day, leaving me increasingly uneasy. That night, the first thunderstorm of summer began. I was jolted awake by the thunder, hugging my knees and curling up under the covers, as scenes from my past life replayed over and over in my mind. Though each recollection brings a searing fear and pain, I force myself to relive every detail, piecing together the truth from the shattered fragments of memory, searching for any clue that might keep me from repeating the same mistakes. In my past life, on the very day of my birthday, my father suddenly announced that the whole family would go to Deerwood Park to celebrate. I was overjoyed. This was the first time my father remembered my birthday, and the whole family was together. It was something I'd never dared to dream of. In a daze, I followed my family to Deerwood Lodge, our family's mountain retreat. The scenery was breathtaking, the air crisp and fresh, and my family seemed like entirely different people, treating me with such warmth and kindness. It would have been perfect, if not for that one annoying guest. The guest's surname was Fong. Though in his 30s, everyone still called him Young Master Fong. Young Master Fong joined my family for lunch. Throughout the meal, the occasional glances he cast my way filled me with disgust, invariably bringing to mind things like glue or fish hooks. I finished eating quickly and left for the terrace to get some air. I was on the terrace, admiring the lush green mountains in the distance, when I suddenly heard the tap-tap of footsteps approaching. It's Young Master Fong. Only his leather shoes make that distinct sound when he walks. I wanted no interaction with Young Master Fong, so I quickly ducked behind a large potted plant. Young Master Fong pushed the door open and stepped onto the terrace. After a quick scan revealed no one, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Brother Dao, bring your crew up the mountain, Deerwood Lodge. I've sent you the location. The entire Yi family is present. Make it clean, don't worry, you'll Get your share of the money. After finishing his call, Feng Xiao lit a cigarette and took a drag. I crouched behind the foliage, my hand clamped tightly over my mouth, terrified of making a sound. Young Master Feng finished his cigarette, dropped the butt, ground it out with his foot, and walked away. As the sound of leather shoes faded into the distance, I trembled and went to find my father after hearing my story. My father's expression became inscrutable. He patted my back reassuringly, and, seeing I was still shaking, handed me a glass of milk. Thank you for your help. Go back to your room and rest now. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. I obediently returned to my room. For some reason, my eyelids grew heavier and heavier, and I soon collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. A deafening clap of thunder jolted me awake. Night had fallen completely, and with the lights off, the room was pitch black. The heavy rain drummed against the window panes with a sharp, crackling sound. Groping in the dark, I found the light switch and left the room to look for my father. The villa was eerily quiet, like a solitary island adrift in the stormy sea. I searched from the third floor all the way down to the first, even scouring the basement. My father, brother, sister, stepmother, not a single soul was there. They had all vanished. I was completely alone in the entire villa, lost and panicked. I was about to call my family when, in a flash of lightning, I saw several figures approaching the villa through the rain-streaked window, clad in black raincoats. The blades in their hands caught the lightning's glare, searing my eyes and clouding my mind. 9. The thunder faded into the distance, but the rain kept falling. Reality terrifies me more than any nightmare, because that's not a nightmare. It's the future unfolding. In my previous life, I was kidnapped by those people, and they called my family demanding a ransom one by one. The calls were answered, and the responses were, Dad, I don't need another daughter. You won't get a single cent from me, brother. That poor bastard should have died long ago. Don't drag me into this, sister. Please, have some pity on her. She's only 18 and hasn't even had a boyfriend yet. Just let her go. Enraged, the kidnapper advanced toward me with bloodshot eyes. Without a second thought, I smashed through the window and leaped from the third-floor balcony. The mud pit formed by the downpour saved me from breaking my leg. I got up, gritting my teeth through the pain, and fled into the dark forest. The kidnappers chased after them. I dared not look back, yet I could hear the curses and panting drawing ever closer behind me. Cornered and with no way out, I was forced to the edge of the cliff. The kidnappers closed in, their daggers glinting coldly, cruel smiles twisting their faces. I tried to leap off the cliff, but a hand seized my arm. Just then, the cliff face gave way, and I plummeted down with the kidnappers. I must have died in that fall, for when I opened my eyes, I was back on the day of my 8th birthday. 10 years have passed in the blink of an eye as some things have changed, while others have not. But Yi Ponching, who yearned for familial love, who was willing to shoulder all misfortune for the sake of so-called family, and who ultimately fled in despair and died on a dark, rainy night, that person is forever changed. Time does not stand still. And my 18th birthday arrived as scheduled. Ponching, today is your 18th birthday. Let's all go to Deerwood Park to celebrate as a family. My father looked at me as he spoke, a complex, inscrutable light shimmering in his eyes. My silence took him by surprise. What's the matter? Aren't you happy? No, Dad, I'm really happy. Good. Your mother has prepared a new dress for you. You need to dress up beautifully today, just like a princess. I obediently changed into the custom-made dress and let my stepmother do my makeup. My younger sister stared at my reflection in the mirror, her eyes growing more and more envious. Just when I thought she was about to lose her temper, my sister seemed to have a sudden realization, and her eyes lit up with a gleeful, almost spiteful, delight. In my past life, I was so caught up in my own happiness that I completely missed these subtle details. The whole family went out together and arrived at Deer Grove Manor. Not long after, young Master Feng arrived. His repulsive behavior wasn't just as disgusting as I remembered, it was even worse. I finished my meal at a leisurely pace and went straight back to my bedroom instead of heading to the terrace. Not long after, my father came in and got straight to the point. So, what do you think of young Master Feng? Not much. Ponching, you're an adult now. It's time you shouldered the family's responsibilities. Young Master Feng is the marriage partner I've chosen for you. You should get to know him properly. I need to think about it. All right, think it over carefully. Give me your answer after the midday break. Father left, stifling a yawn. I pressed against the door, listening as his footsteps faded away, followed by the sound of a door opening and closing. My heart pounded wildly, and I sprang into action immediately. I have to get out of here right now. The kidnappers must have received Mr. Feng's call and are already on their way while my family was taking their afternoon nap. I slipped out of the villa and quietly climbed into a pickup truck. The pickup truck belongs to a private chef service company and will leave with the 2 chefs after lunch. I've planned this escape over and over in my mind for 10 years. Every time I visited Lulin Garden, I would quietly observe the layout of the villa and the routes. The pickup truck is my plan A. If I miss it, there's always plan B. A bicycle I stashed away in the woods ahead of time. I hid in the truck bed, using the foam boxes that held the ingredients to conceal myself. The pickup truck started moving through the gaps in the bamboo basket. I Watched the villa recede into the distance. As the pickup truck rounded a bend on the winding mountain road, the villa vanished completely, replaced by an overwhelming, dense green pressing in on both sides of the road. Summer afternoon, mountains serene, birds singing, full of life. As the pickup truck entered the city, I jumped out during a red light and made my escape. I took a taxi home, and by the time I arrived, the sky had already darkened, with thick rain clouds gathering overhead. The phone sent a rainstorm warning. My phone rang just as I was checking the alert message. The moment I answered, my father's furious, accusatory voice slammed into me. "Where are you? Yen Master Fong is about to leave. Get back here to see him off." "No, I'm just in the woods nearby, taking a walk. How can you be so thoughtless? Get back here right now." "No, I can't do that. How dare you defy me? You wouldn't dare disobey me. Dad, I'm lost. Can you come find me in the woods?" The phone fell silent for several seconds. I could almost picture my father on the other end, seething with a rage he had no way to unleash. "Find your own way back, or spend the night alone in the woods getting soaked." Before I could even respond, my father hung up the phone. A bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Yi Ponching, what are you still hoping for? That they still have a shred of conscience left, and will come looking for you in the mountains as the storm approaches? Impossible, they don't. No, this was the last chance you gave them. If they had gone into the mountains, they might have avoided the kidnappers who were coming." 10. I slipped my phone into my pocket and headed to the kitchen to make dinner for myself. All the servants at home are on leave, leaving me all alone. As I was enjoying my steaming bowl of tomato and egg noodles, a thunderclap cracked the sky and a downpour began. The rain must have started falling on the mountain too, recalling the kidnapper in a black raincoat. Knife in hand, standing in the downpour, I shivered and my gaze involuntarily turned to the window. The night was dark and the rain heavy, yet the streetlights outside the window glowed with a warm yellow light, and from time to time, the sound of cars splashing through puddles echoed along the road. This isn't some remote mountain villa, it's a high-security, affluent neighborhood. Just press the emergency button, and the community security will be here within 2 minutes. All of this puts my mind at ease. After dinner, I lounged back on the sofa, watching the wall clock tick away, second by second. Time's just about up. What happens next? For some reason, I feel a flicker of anticipation. In my past life, the kidnappers only managed to grab a poor soul like me, demanding a ransom from my family, whether as a cover or just on a whim, regardless of the motive. Fang Xiao behind the kidnappers certainly failed to achieve his goal. What is Fang Xiao's goal? Wants my whole family dead. Well, he's pretty much getting his wish now, but if it's about wanting something my father has, my mind turned to the safe in my father's study. No one was allowed near that safe, and he alone knew the combination. If my hunch was right, it should be happening any moment now. I tapped open the smart home security app on my phone, checking the temporary visitor pass. A new application record suddenly popped up, timestamped just 1 minute ago. They're really here. My heart pounded twice, hard, checked my gear and switched on the front door surveillance feed. The camera's resolution was so high you could even see the individual trails of rainwater running down the eaves. A figure emerged from the curtain of rain. His purpose was clear. He headed straight for my front door, and his face came into sharp focus on the video feed. It was Yen Master Fong. The electronic beep of the keypad sounded 6 times in succession, followed by a door open prompt. The door was pushed once, then a second time, and a third. Each shove heavier than the last, but it still wouldn't budge, because I had physically locked it from the inside. Watching Yen Master Feng's stunned face on the monitor, I calmly asked, "What are you doing?" Feng Xiao was clearly startled and didn't react for several seconds. "Why are you punching? It's me. You're not on the mountain. When did you come home? None of your business. What are you doing at my place?" Feng Xiao forced a smile toward the camera. "Your father has something for me, and he told me to come get it myself. Could you open the door, please?" "No." Why? How am I supposed to know if you're telling the truth?" "It's true. Otherwise, how would I have your guest passcode?" "Your father told me." "Not my problem. I'm not opening the door for a stranger at this hour." "How can I be a stranger? We just had dinner together, and your father even—" "Stop right there. Whatever my father said or did doesn't represent me. If you want something, have him come get it himself." All right, Yi Ponching, just you wait. I'll have your father come find you soon." My father called. Yi Ponching. I asked Fang Xiao to go to the house to pick something up. "Open the door." "No." "What? You ungrateful daughter. This is my house. How dare you disobey me? Because you're not at home, and because I can't stand the sight of Fang Xiao no matter what my father said, I refused to open the door in the end. My father had no choice but to give in, then go to the safe in my study and get the item for Yen Master Fong. Following my father's instructions, I entered the code, opened the safe, and found a manila envelope in the second-to-last compartment. Father confirmed I had the item and said it involved company secrets, instructing me to deliver it to Mr. Fong immediately, unchanged and untouched. I hung up the phone immediately and opened the paper bag without hesitation to examine the documents and photos inside. All of it is evidence of Fang Xiao's crimes. He gambled, drugged people, and bribed officials. His list of crimes is extensive. If this evidence were handed over to the police, he'd likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. I see. So this is what Yen Master Fong wanted, but I still have my doubts. Why does father want me to marry Yen Master Fong? With this evidence, father could easily control Yen Master Fong. A marriage alliance is completely unnecessary, unless what father truly wanted wasn't a marriage alliance, but to throw me to the wolves. My mind was racing, but my hands never stopped moving as I ransacked the safe from top to bottom. Cash, foreign currency, gold bars, jewelry, property deeds, stock certificates. In the bottommost compartment, I found a document with slightly yellowed pages. The word "will" on the cover glared back at me, painfully conspicuous. I skimmed through it quickly. As I watched, I reached up and covered my mouth, tears falling in big drops. This is the will Mom left behind. My mother had always been in poor health, and after giving birth to me, she became bedridden and passed away not long after. My brother has always blamed me for causing Mom's death. I can't defend myself. This is an original sin I've carried since birth, a weight that will forever crush my heart. I ask myself day and night, is Mom upset with me? If Mom were alive, would she have loved me, even just a little? The question has finally been answered today. Mom loves me. She left all the shares of the companies under her name to me. She left this asset not to her husband, nor to her son, but to her daughter, to me. Yi Ponching, the shares are temporarily held in trust by my father and will be transferred to me under the supervision of a lawyer once I turn 18. I suddenly understood so many things. Why would my father be so heartless toward me? Perhaps in his eyes, I am not his daughter, but an enemy who would dilute his assets and threaten his control of the company. His coldness, discrimination, disgust, and oppression toward me, all of it stems from this. Today I turn 18, the age at which I can take over the shares. The will is also held by the lawyer Mom appointed. He can't delay much longer. That's why he wants to marry me off to Yen Master Fong, someone who has a weakness he can exploit. Once I'm married, even if the shares come into my hands, my father will still be able to control me through Mr. Fong. Unfortunately, Yen Master Fong is no docile lamb to be controlled, but a vicious wolf that will retaliate with everything it has. Fong Xiao's impatient voice came through the door. Yi Ponching, are you ready yet? Ready? Step back, I'll hand it over. Yen Master Fong tipped 2 steps back, clearing the doorway. I first pressed the emergency button to call security, stalled for a moment, and then opened the door. The door swung open, and Fong Xiao lunged at me suddenly. His eyes glinted with malice, excitement, greed, and mockery, as if I were a helpless, pitiful prey beneath the claws of a ferocious beast. I calmly raised my hand. Only then did Yen Master Fong realize what I held wasn't evidence at all. It was a can of pepper spray, asterisk. Oh, Fong Xiao clutched his eyes and let out a pained cry. I swept with a low kick, then locked his shoulder and neck, pinning Fong Xiao firmly to the water-slicked brick pavement. The sound of running footsteps grew closer, and the security guard arrived. Help me hold him down. Call the police, I shouted loudly. The security guards recognized me and immediately swarmed in to take control of Yen Master Fong. I called the police immediately as soon as I had a free hand. 11. The police arrived quickly, and I immediately handed over the evidence of Fong Xiao's crime. Yen Master Fong let out a roar like a cornered beast. Yi Ponching, you've ruined me, you vicious woman. I'll make sure your family is torn apart and your life becomes a living hell. The unwilling Yen Master Fong was taken away for interrogation. I told the police everything I knew, but not about my memories from my previous life. In this life, I didn't hear Fong Xiao's phone call with the kidnapper, so the reason I came down the mountain to go home was simply because I disliked him, and because of that dislike, I refused to open the door for him. I reported Fong Xiao to the police because I saw evidence of his crime. As for why I didn't listen to my father and open the file bag anyway, I can only thank my insatiable curiosity. Curiosity isn't a crime, and it even helped the police catch the bad guy. Although Fong Xiao hasn't confessed yet. The police deduced that my family was being held hostage and immediately sent a team up the mountain for the rescue. I was asked to come to the police station to continue assisting with the investigation. After giving my statement, I didn't leave. I waited in the reception area, sipping hot tea, for news from the mountain. My phone rang. It was my father's number. I answered, but the voice on the other end was that of the kidnapper. Ms. Yi, we have your family. After a moment of silence, I asked, what do you want? Money? Of course, I don't have any money. You have family members. Just listen to what they have to say. Then came the sound of my father and others crying from the phone. Ponching, it's Dad. Since the safe is open now, take all the cash, gold, and jewelry inside, and bring them over on the electric scooter. Sis, it's your brother. There's a USB drive in my desk drawer with the cryptocurrency I bought overseas. The account password is tucked inside the third book on the second shelf of my bookcase. Please bring them both to me, or I'll die. I swear I'll die. Sis, take the jewelry from my room and Mom's room too. It's worth tens of millions altogether. You have to take it. You must. They're demanding 200 million, and they'll kill someone for every 50 million short. I don't want to die. Woo-woo. Please, save me. Woo-woo. I held the phone, my expression utterly blank. My family's tearful pleas couldn't stir a single ripple in my heart. Every last shred of hope and attachment I had for them was exhausted in my past life, so they had that much money all along, enough to come up with 200 million. In my past life, the kidnappers only asked them for 20 million. My father, brother, and sister not only refused, but they also uttered words as sharp and heartless as knives. Every single syllable was carved into my heart, unforgettable to this day. I'm not going. You're on your own, I said it calmly, then hung up the phone amid my family's wailing and curses. I went to the police to report this latest development. The police officer's expression grew complicated after hearing it, hesitating as if wanting to say something but stopping himself. He meant that I shouldn't have refused outright, as that would anger the kidnappers. Instead, I should have pretended to agree to buy time and facilitate their rescue, but seeing the look of pure innocence on my face, he ultimately said nothing. "Ah well, she's just a child after all. You can't expect her to think of everything." I went back to the reception room to continue drinking tea, and when I got sleepy, I rested my head on the table for a while. Dawn broke. I waited until the final outcome of the matter. The police explained that since Fang Xiao was arrested, the kidnappers couldn't reach him. They assumed he intended to skip the final payment after getting what he wanted. So they made a last-minute decision to extort money from my family to cover their losses, and so, that phone call was made. My refusal enraged the kidnappers, and they were ready to give my family a taste of their wrath. They didn't intend to kill anyone, they just wanted to inflict some wounds, take photos, and send them to me. But my family, panicking, jumped out the window to escape. Just like I did in my previous life, fate's boomerang struck them, right in the same spot, where a landslide sent them tumbling off the cliff, killing them all. The police officer, with a grave expression, offered me his condolences. I just nodded and asked if I could go home. Sure. I stepped out of the police station. The sky remained a dull gray, with a fine drizzle drifting in the slanting wind. I took a deep breath of the damp, fresh air, then exhaled. I strolled through the streets under a gentle, drizzling rain. Occasional raindrops brushed against her face, sending a faint chill through her. The rain in my heart has ceased. The clouds cleared, and sunlight streamed down. 12 follow-up. I made the funeral arrangements for my family and laid them to rest in the cemetery south of the city. My mother's cemetery is in the northern part of the city. Selfishly, I think it's enough that I'll be the one down there with Mom someday. Everyone else can just stay far away. In life, we were not close. In death, we shall not meet. The lawyer showed up, bringing a stack of agreements. Now not only do I inherit my mother's shares in the company, but also my father's, my brother's, my sister's, and even all the assets under my stepmother's name are now mine. Company shares, real estate stocks, trust funds, cars and yachts, jewelry and gold, antiques and paintings. The list of assets was so long it could fill a book. The windfall made me happy, but I was even happier when the college entrance exam results came out. I successfully made it into the top-tier university admission line. I applied for the business administration program at a prestigious university, of course. The reason is that I actually have a company to manage. Story 2, our family-run factory, operating for over 3 decades, is on the brink of collapse. In a desperate bid to turn things around, my parents gritted their teeth and spent 30 million to sponsor a TV drama starring an award-winning actress, all just to secure a single promotional line from her. But when the show aired, the line was changed to Ducky washing machines, the appliance of choice for mistresses. Overnight, major retailers started returning their orders en masse. Online orders plummeted. Our brand reputation collapsed, and 30 years of my parents' hard work went down the drain. I went to the actress's home to beg her to clarify things, but she just sneered. If I hadn't changed my lines, how would this shoddy brand ever have become famous? Furious, I started yelling insults, and her assistant filmed it and posted it online. Enraged fans of the award-winning actress stormed the factory in protest, while protecting the workers. I was fatally stabbed by one of her brainless followers, unable to bear the devastating loss. My heartbroken parents leaped into the river in despair. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day our brand was selecting its spokesperson, Ducky washing machine. Never heard of it. What shady, unlicensed product from some backwater outfit is this? In the dressing room, actress Sasha sat before the mirror while 3 assistants bustled around attending to her. Her parents stood awkwardly at the doorway, handing over the product quality report, yet Sasha tossed the report straight into the trash. It was her agent who pocketed the money and offered a few words of explanation. It's a legitimate brand, domestic, been around for over 30 years. To my surprise, Sasha sneered. No wonder it's so tacky. The next second, she actually stood up, grabbed the eyeshadow palette, and threw it at her agent. You'd take any endorsement deal for me. Are you that desperate for money? If I accept this, my rivals would have a field day mocking me. The three assistants and parents were utterly startled, and everyone in the dressing room held their breath. The manager put on an ingratiating smile and quickly soothed, "No, we won't take it. Whatever our little princess says goes." Then, in a sudden about-face, he shoved the parents out the door. "Get out of here. Your tacky presence is an insult to my Sasha's eyes." The father was seething with anger but dared not show it, while the mother was distressed over the 500,000 spent on the agent. "Even if you don't take the job, just say one line of promotion, say whatever you want, as long as you're willing to help us promote it. The payment stays the same." Hearing this, even Sasha began to waver, and the agent made an outrageous demand. 30 million. The annual payroll for all factory workers is only 30 million. Her father immediately refused. "No way, 5 million at most, 5 million. Just like that. Anyone would have taken that deal, but Sasha just had to be difficult. 30 million, 1 cent less, and I'll start promoting another brand's washing machines." Mother was so furious she nearly fell over backwards. How could anyone be so shameless? But to keep up with the times and boost their promotional efforts, the elderly couple gritted their teeth and decided to agree. Just then, I snapped out of it and stepped right in front of my parents. "Fine, have it your way. If you're so desperate to throw yourself at them, I won't stop you." Furious, Sasha kicked our entire family off the film set. On the way home, my parents wore sorrowful expressions. For 30 years since its founding, Ducky washing machines have focused solely on product excellence and quality. They had no clue about marketing. This left them completely outmatched by both foreign brands and emerging local competitors. When the factory was on the verge of collapse, my parents hired recent college graduates to brainstorm solutions. Their advice was straightforward: bring in celebrity endorsements and build a vibrant brand image. The approach was sound, but they picked the wrong person. In my past life, my parents spent $500,000 just to get in touch with the agent, then another $100,000 just to get her to even consider the offer. But Sasha lived down on domestic brands, calling them tacky and beneath her image. They absolutely refused to do any endorsement deals. My parents had to compromise by sponsoring a TV drama instead, spending the whole night brainstorming lines. They only managed to buy one line: "My Ducky washing machine still works perfectly after 30 years. But when the show aired, the line had been changed to "Ducky washing machines, even mistresses love them." Washing machines suddenly became associated with mistresses, tarnishing the brand's image. This line went viral and became a breakout meme from the TV series. Its impact was just as strong as the phrase "you must be really hungry." Netizens started joking, "Do you have a Ducky at home?" Sasha's fans even cooked up this bizarre superstition, claiming everyone who bought a Ducky washing machine ended up cheating on their partners. They insisted their idol was absolutely right. The target demographic for washing machines is homemakers, who'd want a home appliance that symbolizes a mistress sitting in their house overnight. Online orders plummeted, with major platforms flooded with returns. Spreading rumors takes no effort, but debunking them requires running your legs off. My parents were anxiously watching the return orders pile up, losing sleep night after night. To help them, I rushed to register an official brand account to set the record straight, but it got shadowbanned. I could only watch helplessly as the rumors spiraled into absurdity. In the end, the factory's funding dried up, inventory piled high, and operations ground to a halt. With no other options left, I went to Sasha and begged her to help clear things up, but Sasha had the audacity to say, if I hadn't changed the lines, how would this shoddy brand have gotten any attention? "You should be thanking me." Thank her for destroying the business my parents spent 30 years building." I jabbed a furious finger at her and snapped, 30 million just for one sentence, and you can't even be bothered to communicate properly. Do you have any concept of collaboration? But Sasha just sneered at me, "Your parents' lifetime earnings don't even match what I make in a single day. Maybe you should be reflecting on your own inadequacies." I leapt up in a rage to strike her, but the bodyguards threw me out, forcing me to watch my last hope slip away. I'd rather lose 30 million than let Sasha tarnish our brand's reputation. Walking home, seeing the worry on my parents' faces, I tried to comfort them. "Don't worry, Mom and Dad. In the digital age, there are plenty of marketing strategies beyond celebrity endorsements. Worst case scenario, we'll just launch our own live stream shopping channel." That's easier said than done. With my background in English translation being completely irrelevant, I had to bite the bullet and start live streaming. I had no idea what to say when facing the camera. I awkwardly held up a sign that read "Welcome to Ducky Washing Machine" all night, but my live stream viewers never reached double digits. A father, a mother, and Joe who tightened screws at the factory 3 days in a row. The same story every day. My parents knew I'd done my best and comforted me, saying, "No rush. We've been scraping by for years. We're not going under anytime soon." Yet it weighs heavily on my heart. Half of the workers my parents employ are people with disabilities, while the other half are seasoned employees who've been with them for over 30 years. They continue paying full wages even when the factory suspends operations. This represents a significant financial commitment for my parents. On the fourth day, things finally started looking up. Hundreds of viewers suddenly flooded into my live stream, and I thought my persistence had finally paid off before I could even celebrate. The comment section exploded with criticism. How dare you try selling this unregulated junk? Does this washing machine actually contaminate clothes with carcinogens? Only $300. Something this cheap can't be trustworthy. The screen kept flooding with disparaging comments. My heart sank instantly, and I knew these were hired trolls sent by Sasha. A lump formed in my throat as I faced the viciousness of public opinion for the first time, but in the dead of night, I couldn't find anyone to handle PR for me, let alone afford it. With plenty of time on my hands anyway, I decided to take on the fight alone. I'll refute your nonsense point by point. Your mother didn't put a warning label on you when you were born, yet here you are making a fool of yourself. Being brain dead doesn't count as cancer. $300 is more than enough to buy what little intelligence you have. From 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. My fingers were numb from all the tapping, but I kept at it, firing back at every single one of them without missing a beat. By daybreak, my eyes were so strained they started tearing up involuntarily, making it look like I'd been crying. When Sasha, the person behind the troll accounts, saw that I actually dared to clap back, she was so furious she started screaming, "Ungrateful wretch, no wonder nobody's buying her stuff. Ronald, hire more trolls immediately, let's see how long she lasts." The agent Ronald scrambled to comply, terrified of provoking the diva. In the following days, the brand faced a massive wave of malicious online attacks. I was fighting a losing battle alone, yet to my surprise, the livestream viewership began steadily growing. It's not just paid trolls, there are also curious bystanders and some delightfully savage netizens who eagerly joined in roasting them on my behalf. I rubbed my eyes and took another look at the follower count in my livestream. I let out a startled yelp. I lost my balance and toppled right off the plastic stool. Holy crap, there are so many people. The live stream actually hit 5,000 viewers. What does that even mean? Our entire factory only has 700 people. My live stream audience is as big as 7 factory shifts combined. The comments evolved from pure smear campaigns to genuine inquiries about product specs. Hahaha, so adorable. Time to break out my favorite reaction meme. So many people, you've gone viral, streamer. Someone compiled your savage clapbacks into a video. Everyone's calling you sassy Huang now. This washing machine is such a steal. Could you give me a rundown of the basic features? I immediately recognized the opportunity and focused entirely on serving the customer, ignoring the trolls. Thanks. As a country boy seeing such a big crowd for the first time, I'll warm things up with some wrestling moves. My surname is Sue, but for all my friends here, I'm willing to change it to Huang the Roaster. Alright everyone, gather round. Let me walk you through our brand features. I genuinely addressed viewers' questions, but still couldn't resist clapping back at those deliberately malicious comments. This blend of earnestness and humor in the livestream quickly went viral. The viewer count skyrocketed from 5,000 to 7,000, and astonishingly smashed through the 10,000 mark. Even more exciting, we got an order. We actually received an order tonight. I was so thrilled I shook my sleeping parents awake. Half an hour later, my parents rushed to the workshop in their pajamas and slippers. When it comes to brand history and professional knowledge, my parents are way more knowledgeable than I am. They were chatting away while I sat in the back, glued to my phone and focused on roasting haters. The quirky combination had netizens completely hooked. Some even affectionately called my parents uncle and auntie, and wanted to buy the pajamas they were wearing. The live stream has completely gone off the rails. A bigger audience is always a good thing. And mom and dad weren't expecting to sell much anyway. They even kept them company with casual chit-chat. After the stream ended, the elderly couple was moved to tears when they saw the 300 orders. Kids these days are so wonderful. I just chatted with them for a bit, and they paid up front without even seeing the product. There really are so many good people in this world. I immediately arranged production. Every little bit helps. After all, once a customer places an order, I have to make sure it gets delivered right to their doorstep. Just as the family began to see a glimmer of hope, Sasha's agent showed up to stir up trouble again. He first went to my parents and started gaslighting them, saying how inferior our products were compared to big brands. Then he complained about the washing machine's ugly design, and even dragged its color into the criticism. Look at you, no competitive edge, weak marketing. If it weren't for my Sasha's kind heart, you wouldn't even get a shot at promotion. The agent was full of himself, while my parents stood before him like helpless children. What do you mean? The agent finally made an offer, $20 million, and we'll give you a sponsorship opportunity. My parents started hesitating again when they heard the price. Can you go any lower? Do you have any idea who our Sasha is? She's an award-winning actress. Having a star of her caliber endorse your brand is an absolute privilege. My parents immediately fell silent. They didn't understand how the market worked and naively believed that hiring a famous actress would automatically Sell countless washing machines. I stepped right in front of the agent and said, if it's such a privilege, why don't you take it yourself? Just as live stream sales were finally gaining traction, these opportunists came sniffing around for their cut. They're clearly here for money, yet they act like they're bestowing some grand favor from their high horse. The agent issued an ultimatum, take it or leave it. When other brands are thriving, you'll be begging on your knees and still get nothing. My parents looked at me, and I pointed straight at the door. Not a chance. Get lost. The agent stormed off, angrily throwing back, you'll regret this. A month later, orders started shipping out one after another. Many viewers came to the live stream praising the quality and recommending purchases. Just as the live stream was buzzing with excitement, the chat suddenly alerted us to check the trending searches. My heart sank as I opened the trending list. Sure enough, it was a smear campaign, #Ducky. Excessive noise #. Some users reported, I bought the trendy brand Ducky, but it's so loud I can't sleep at night. Every time the washing machine runs, I have to apologize to my neighbors above and below, worried they might come after me. The comments section was flooded with negative reviews trying to sway public opinion, saying they'd never heard of the brand Ducky. They all condemned us for daring to sell unregulated products. Meanwhile, another domestic brand, Meline, quietly made an official announcement. Heard there's a new brand ambassador tonight. Can't wait to see who it is. Fans in the comments already knew the news and were spamming mentions of Sasha like crazy. Congrats to the brand for landing a top-tier spokesperson, praising one while putting down another. I instantly saw through Sasha's game. If we don't send her money, she'll crush us. Mom was so anxious she kept stomping her feet. What should we do? Will the live stream viewers attack you again? Maybe your dad and I should do the stream tonight. You go get some rest. My composure shattered instantly. My parents knew about the online abuse I'd been getting, seeing their own daughter being torn apart online. They must have lost sleep over it. Holding back tears, I grasped their hands. Don't worry, we should capitalize on this surge of attention while we can. Dad, find time tomorrow to scientifically measure the washing machine's operational decibels. I need the data. But during that evening's live stream, the flood of critical comments swelled once more. Stop pretending to be an ethical domestic brand while cashing in on shoddy products. Do you even deserve to call yourself a national brand? I've never seen a washing machine this loud. Sounds like a war zone in my laundry room. You get what you pay for. Folks, skip this one and go for Meline instead. Even an Oscar-winning actress endorses it. Must be legit. The live stream's discussion kept getting derailed, of course. There were also kind-hearted netizens who stood up for me, but the positive comments were completely drowned out by the trolls Sasha hired. You could barely see any favorable remarks. I just sat there in the live stream, not saying a word, using my phone to clap back at the hate comments. The next day, #Ducky streamer insults viewers # was trending again, building a persona around being rude. Absolutely disgusting. We can't even criticize a bad product now. What's the point of lashing out at people? Disgusting streamer selling terrible products. Steer clear. Sasha's fans locked the trending #, flooding the comments section with backlash. Everyone was looking forward to the evening variety show, waiting for the goddess to announce her new endorsement. At 7 p.m., Sasha appeared on television, intelligent, elegant, beautiful, with a touch of endearing clumsiness. The barrage of fan comments nearly flooded the screen. With enthusiasm rising wave after wave, I held my phone, watching her live variety show. I couldn't help but wonder how much the other endorsement brand had paid for her sponsorship. Commercials on variety shows are priced by the second, and they're expensive. Moreover, the Meline brand had officially announced Sasha as their ambassador even before the variety show started airing. The announcement post on Weibo received over 300,000 likes. When it came time to introduce the brand, Sasha looked at the washing machine, her smile faltering for a moment as her eyes shifted to the upper left, as if she was trying to recall the brand name. The host beside her kept prompting, thanks to our friends at May. He didn't dare finish the sentence, afraid of stealing the celebrity's line. Sasha suddenly caught on and immediately chimed in, thank you for the sponsorship from Mady brand. Love you. I almost choked to death on my water, messing up the brand name. Seriously. The barrage comments also paused for a second before flooding in with corrections. It's Meline, not Mady. Can these celebrities even do their jobs right? What are they doing with those massive endorsement fees? At Medy fridge sponsor, time to pay up for that endorsement. Could it be that Meline was just wishful thinking and didn't actually secure a spokesperson? The host froze for a moment before jumping in to save the situation. Haha, our award-winning actress Sasha is such a riot. He then blinked rapidly to signal Sasha to correct herself. However, Sasha missed the host's hint and instead asked, is your eyelid twitching? Do you need a break? Then she mentioned the brand again and smugly formed a heart shape with her hands. Don't forget to support Mady washing machines. Everyone, the brand can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Mispronouncing the brand name twice shows an unprofessional attitude that no amount of fan defense can excuse. That night, another brand cashed in on free exposure and trended on social media. Meline's exorbitant endorsement fee went down the drain, essentially doing someone else's work for free. The brand contacted Sasha's agent, demanding a public apology on Weibo and a proper mention of the brand name. The request was perfectly reasonable, but Sasha refused to comply. What's the big deal? So I got the name wrong. Is that really such a crime? That tacky brand with its copycat name should be thanking me. If I weren't kind enough to endorse them, this local brand would have gone under ages ago. Her agent continued pleading with her like a servant begging their mistress to calm down. It's just one Weibo post. If you really won't do it, I'll post it myself. It's not like anyone would know anyway. The proud actor Sasha simply refused to budge. Don't you dare. Anyone who posts this is fired. The whole team froze instantly. The situation escalated overnight, and by the time I woke up the next morning, it was already trending. Hashtag Sasha mispronounces brand name hashtag. Yet there are still fans down there making excuses for them. Mady is a national brand. Even if my Sasha misspoke, it's because she has common sense, so she got one word wrong. Is that really worth all this outrage? The brand should apologize. How dare they cyberbully our goddess? Say no to cyberbullying. Seeing those last 4 words, I couldn't help but snap back. Where was this say no to cyberbullying when your fans were harassing people online? Back when Ducky Washing Machines was struggling to stay afloat, Sasha even hired internet trolls to attack us. She completely disregarded how hundreds of innocent ordinary people could lose their jobs because of this. If I hadn't gained notoriety for clapping back later on, the factory would never have managed to stage a comeback, and now Sasha's fans have the audacity to turn the tables and demand an apology from the brand, who in their right mind would pay good money just to get insulted. That single comment of mine instantly pushed Ducky Washing Machines to trending status. Sasha's agents started spinning conspiracy theories, accusing me of manipulating public opinion to sabotage the award-winning actress. I'd really like to know, how exactly was I supposedly sabotaging her? Can I shut Sasha's blabbering mouth? Yet her brainless fans just charge ahead, completely ignoring the facts. When I started my second live stream, the viewer count skyrocketed to 100 to 000. I played a video showing decibel measurements of a washing machine's various cycles in an enclosed space. The final reading consistently stayed below 50 decibels, but soon enough, the haters latched onto this point. 50 decibels is way above acceptable quietness standards. It's disturbing my rest, and prolonged exposure could actually damage human hearing. The pseudoscientific nonsense, dressed up as legitimate concern, actually got a bunch of people rallying behind it. I fired right back. 50 decibels is the normal operating noise of a washing machine. It only damages hearing when it exceeds 80 decibels with prolonged exposure. What? Does your washing machine only run at night? And it's disturbing your sleep. Do you sleep both day and night? Maybe you should just sleep forever then. Even breathing makes noise when you're alive. Should everyone just drop dead then? My triple clapback left the haters speechless. My livestream followers kept urging me to try stand-up comedy, but I politely declined. After collecting myself, I finally spoke my truth. Both Meline and Ducky are heritage Chinese brands with 30 years of history. Every step of their journey has been hard. 1. I hope everyone can see past the fan hype and recognize the real blood, sweat, and tears that go into building physical businesses. Hiring celebrities as brand ambassadors is meant to boost visibility. It's supposed to be a win-win partnership, but is it fair for the brand to suffer just because of a slip of the tongue? Money doesn't grow on trees. If you're taking the paycheck, do your job properly. Otherwise, you might as well give the money back. My sharp commentary once again set the internet ablaze. Fans are slamming it, while casual observers are praising it. Meline even posted a Weibo update featuring my video. Domestic brands have it tough, but this is just betrayal. 50 million can't buy the name Meline, yet we still endure the insults. A legal notice is on its way. Watch your step. Now Sasha's fans don't dare to speak up. 50 million. This is more money than most people earn in a lifetime. I could almost hear the collective gasp from netizens watching this drama unfold. Some even calculated you'd need to start working since the spring and autumn period to earn that much by 2100, yet Sasha took the 50 million and still couldn't be bothered to work seriously. This is totally half-hearted. Bystanders are slamming Sasha again. I seized the opportunity to approach Meline's manager and proposed a joint livestream. Since we're both domestic brands, let's make money together. Why fight to the bitter end? Severely drained, Meline immediately joined the live stream without hesitation. The next day, Ducky and Meline appeared together in the live stream. Their collaboration once again became a massive hit. The public sentiment is favorable, and orders keep pouring in. Seeing our booming business, other domestic brands are eager to join us. I waved my hand and said, why not? Let's make money together. Within a month, toothpaste, sneakers, laundry detergent, spicy strips, and more have all joined the ranks of domestic brands. Affordable prices with generous quantities. Netizens have gotten their hands on genuinely good products at reasonable prices, rather than being bombarded with ads only to find items more expensive after discounts. While the internet was buzzing with the domestic brand trend, Sasha quietly lost 7 or 8 endorsements. This isn't the first time Sasha has mispronounced a brand name. There have been previous copywriting mistakes, but they always blamed the staff, or they just delete the posts to suppress the backlash. After the Ninth brand announced they wouldn't renew their contract. Sasha finally panicked. She asked her agent, what happened to that endorsement deal with the second-tier brand? Weren't they begging to work with me? I was giving them a chance, the agent said cautiously. It fell through. Immediately after speaking, he backed away 3 steps because Sasha had already grabbed the powder compact and lipstick from the table and was throwing them at the nearest assistant, a bunch of fair-weather friends. I wouldn't have given them the time of day even when they came begging, and now, don't you dare move. Who said you could move? The assistant curled up in a ball, shielding her head with her hands as objects rained down on her, but Sasha still wasn't satisfied. Who said you could use your hands to block? Put them down. The assistant ran out sobbing. I quit. Sasha immediately shot her agent a look, who instantly understood and rushed out to handle the situation. Neither of them noticed the makeup artist secretly slipping a phone into their pocket. By the third week of the live stream, Sasha finally caved and asked to settle. I quietly listened to her agent's terms for the settlement. Our artist can endorse 2 domestic brands, but Ducky must apologize and admit those earlier remarks were just a publicity stunt. Meline must also post a Weibo statement admitting the 50 million figure was fabricated, while Sasha generously endorsed the brand without any. Both companies' apology statements must remain pinned for a full year to demonstrate sincerity. The Meline representative was already taking deep breaths and rolling their eyes. Keeping my patience, I asked, do we still need to pay the endorsement fee? The agent replied without hesitation, absolutely, it's mandatory. Considering your competing brands, the endorsement fee should be at least 10 million. After a 5-second pause, they added, 10 million per family. The Meline executive suddenly lunged at the agent and started throwing punches. 10 million my ass, if you're so capable, why don't you pay back the 50 million you owe me first? I immediately stepped in to stop him. Who knows if they'd planted hidden cameras again? If they doctored the footage, we'd have no way to defend ourselves. I'm afraid Miss Sasha may not be fully attuned to the current market trends. The agent adjusted his glasses and retorted, what do you mean? Our Sasha has 80 million followers on Weibo. I smiled politely. 79 million of them are fake accounts. He immediately grew flustered, his eyes darting nervously, but he still refused to back down. I continued, domestic brands have already gained mainstream recognition. They don't need celebrity fans to drive sales anymore. Your artist is the one begging for this endorsement to clean up their image, not the brand needing their influence. Frankly, your artist's reputation is so tarnished, I'm concerned they'd actually damage our brand's image. The negotiations ended on a sour note, just when I thought the matter was settled. Sasha dropped another bombshell. #Meline brand assault #is trending. A photo surfaced, capturing the exact moment the Meline representative lunged across the table to throw a punch. This time it's Sasha's agent playing the victim card. He posted a video showing himself lying in a hospital bed, apparently after some kind of surgery. I know the executives are frustrated, and I don't blame them. They're the brand sponsors after all, the money people we can't afford to offend. I just hope they can forgive Sasha's slip of the tongue and not casually scapegoat public figures. This manipulative stunt with fake innocence and added spice absolutely infuriated the Meline executives. He rushed to my house in tears, lamenting his terrible judgment in choosing Sasha as the brand ambassador. It's brought nothing but trouble. I wanted so badly to tell him that in our previous life, our entire family was completely wiped out, but what came out of my mouth were words of comfort. Don't worry, I've got an ace up my sleeve. There's a massive windfall coming our way, and we need to be ready to catch it. The manager thought it was just comforting words and didn't take it seriously. In the following days, there were always people in the live stream trying to stir up trouble, accusing our brand of throwing its weight around. It's just 50 million. If we lose it, we'll make it back. What gives you the right to hit someone? I really want to ask people who say things like that if they even have $5,000 to their name. Good thing I held back. Meanwhile, Sasha's reputation has been improving. Paparazzi caught Sasha visiting her agent in the hospital for 5 consecutive days. Everyone praised her loyalty and good character. Though she's a bit scatterbrained and prone to verbal slip-ups, her fans seized on this to whitewash her reputation, accusing Ducky and Meline of profiting from others' misfortune and being involved with organized crime. Live stream orders immediately dropped by half. Other brand managers were running around in a panic, terrified that the hard-won buzz would fade away again. Just as Sasha was about to rehabilitate her image and start promoting her new endorsement, I went ahead and released the full, unedited video from that day's negotiations. Public opinion will judge what's right and wrong. Screenshots can be taken out of context, but the video reveals the truth. Domestic brands have it tough. The money we earn isn't meant to be handed over to celebrities for endorsement fees. Internet users were absolutely stunned after watching the entire video. How does he have the nerve to say 10 million, and 10 million for each family endorsement blunder, and he didn't even return the 50 million endorsement fee? What a deadbeat. Before watching, how dare they hit someone? After watching, beat them to a pulp. Honestly, I can't blame them. I'd want to throw hands too in that situation. Public opinion flipped again, with the chat flooded by Nothing but apologies. It wasn't until later when I really thought it over that I realized something was off. Sasha's agent never came with any real intention to negotiate. They were just pushing our buttons at every turn, trying to provoke us into throwing the first punch. The same thing happened in my past life. I went to Sasha's place to ask her to clear my name of the mistress accusation, but she deliberately provoked me. She even recorded a video of me hitting someone after it was posted online. The small number of netizens who had been supporting me immediately turned against me. I think Sasha tried to ruin my reputation in advance because she was afraid I would sue her, and she refused to return the $30 million endorsement fee, but I never expected her brainless fans to be so that they actually stormed into the factory. Even though Joe had already lost one leg, he still stood in front of me and desperately blocked the attacker. I was stabbed to death by a brainless fan while trying to save Joe, and that fan turned out to be a minor. It was a crime of passion. After just a few months of rehabilitation, they were let off, heartbroken and utterly hopeless. My parents sold the factory and distributed all the proceeds to the workers. One morning after stargazing, they plunged into the icy river to join me. In this lifetime, I won't give them the slightest chance to strike back. Sasha lost another endorsement deal. It was just a trial run, and we pulled out as soon as we sensed the wind shifting. Sasha threw a fit in the hospital, smashing things. The doctors and nurses all witnessed it. The agent had no choice but to claim that Sasha was under immense stress and had developed manic disorder, but the public wasn't buying it, calling them a perfect match, one a pathological liar, the other a raging maniac. With the lie exposed, there was no longer any reason for the agent to remain hospitalized. They were discharged in haste. As a consequence of faking the injury, Sasha not only lost all her endorsements but also saw her acting roles get snatched away one after another. The only script that came my way was for a supporting female role, playing a pathological liar with manic episodes. Everyone knows Sasha built her career on being the girl next door type, the epitome of innocence who saved her first kiss for the big screen. There's no way she'd take on such a villainous role. Her manager kept persuading her, any publicity is good publicity. Why not ride this wave? If you nail this role, we can pivot straight into serious acting territory. Sasha's response was a slap. Get out. Even you think I've sunk so low as to play second fiddle now? The agent froze, eyes brimming with disappointment. You're on your own. Then you walked away without looking back. Sasha thought they were just angry words and snapped, get lost. I never want to see you again. But a day later, her agent still hadn't contacted her. That's when Sasha got scared. Her entire team couldn't stand her temper and had all quit long ago. Even her only agent abandoned her. It all comes down to that Ducky endorsement deal. If Ducky had offered the $30 million endorsement fee, she wouldn't have taken the Meline deal, nor would a slip of the 10 ruin my acting career. Exactly, it's all Ducky's fault. In her frenzy, Sasha grabbed her phone and found an obsessive whale fan typing away. The next day, I stretched and left the live stream room. The days of huddling together for warmth are over. Ducky and Meline now have separate live stream rooms, but they still cross-promote each other. The harmonious collaboration between two competing products has left many netizens in awe. To express gratitude for helping clear his name, Meline's manager repeatedly dispatched workers to assist with Ducky's production, even offering their warehouse for Ducky's use free of charge. His words were filled with profound appreciation. Standing at the factory gate, I watched the new employees approaching and was overwhelmed with emotion. Just 6 months ago, Ducky was on the verge of bankruptcy, yet now they've actually expanded their production lines. They've also hired a significant number of new employees. Just as I was about to head back inside to sleep, I suddenly noticed a short figure blending into the crowd, head bowed timidly, hands tucked in pockets as if concealing something. In an instant, I immediately thought of my mindless fans from a past life. I was so terrified I didn't dare move a muscle, let alone cry out. What if I startled him and he lashed out, stabbing the other workers in a fit of rage? In the chaos, a flash of inspiration struck me. Great work, everyone. Head to the cafeteria for free watermelon. Eat first, then get back to work. The workers erupted in cheers instantly. Thank you, Boss Huang. Boss Ducky's treating everyone to watermelon. Come grab a slice while it lasts. My surname is Sue, and my given name is Lin. But my fans only remember Ducky and mistakenly think my last name is Huang. In the end, I lost my actual name entirely and got stuck with Boss Ducky instead. Fortunately, the crowd began turning and heading toward the cafeteria. That short guy was blending into the crowd, wanting to kill me but not daring to make a scene. With everyone rushing to the cafeteria, him entering the factory alone would be way too conspicuous. But right after I hit the alarm switch, he charged at me. He brandished a dagger from his pocket, snarling, "Die." A worker immediately shouted, "Look out." Seizing the moment, I grabbed the metal casing from the washing machine and smashed it into the attacker first. As he hit the ground, I unleashed a flurry of kicks and stomps while relentlessly pounding him with the metal casing. Finally got the revenge I've been craving for lifetimes. Get lost, you scum. I'll make sure you rot in prison. The workers quickly snapped to attention and pinned the assailant down together. They handed him over to the police. Yet after the failed murder attempt, the perpetrator's face was actually beaming with a smile. Just wait until I get out in a few days. I'll still kill you, let me tell you. I'm only 15, I won't even go to jail. Furious, I went over and kicked him a couple more times at the police station. The boy refused to admit that Sasha had put him up to it. What was she doing smiling and laughing on that live stream? Made me sick just watching, so I took matters into my own hands. He sat there with his legs crossed, looking like he didn't have a care in the world, not even his own life or death. No matter how the police questioned him, he insisted he just snapped and acted on impulse, yet he had deliberately changed into worker's clothes to blend in with the crew, and he was carrying a concealed dagger. What kind of impulse is this? Soon after, the boy's mother arrived as well. My son is just a child, what gives you the right to arrest him? When she saw me, her bright red manicured nails nearly poked my eyes out. You're that live stream sales influencer, aren't you? Listen carefully, if anything happens to my child, I'll go straight to the media and ruin your business. I took 3 deep breaths in succession to suppress the urge to punch someone right there in the police station. I yanked the person into the stairwell, my eyes burned with the ferocity of a cornered animal. Fine, go ahead and bankrupt me. When I'm broke, I'll make your family my full-time job. I'll protest at your kid's school with banners, harass you at your office, and follow you to every new home you move to. You'll wish you were dead by the time I'm through with you. The woman was so terrified she stumbled over her words, completely speechless for a long moment. Finally, she shrank back, lowering her head, all her previous arrogance gone. I pressed my advantage. Of course your son wouldn't commit murder for no reason, but the problem is he's now protecting the actual killer and getting himself into deep trouble. If you really want to help your son, you should retrieve his communication records. A day later, the boy's deleted chat logs were exposed. Don't worry, my goddess, I'll use my mom's card to buy your endorsements. Is 300,000 enough? Thank you, my dear, but I don't have any endorsement deals now. If that ducky hadn't caused trouble, I wouldn't be getting all this hate. How dare he bully my sister? I'll take care of him for you. Actually, no need to go overboard. Just teach him a lesson. That's not enough. I'll help you finish him off. Hee hee. I'm a minor, won't even go to jail. After the chat logs were exposed, Sasha was arrested. The entertainment industry completely cut ties with her. She's now not only jobless but also facing the threat of imprisonment. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Sasha's makeup artist released a video exposing how she disrespects staff and frequently hits people. With no PR support at this point, her agent has also stopped cleaning up her messes. Her fan base completely evaporated as disillusioned supporters abandoned her. The public unleashed creative new insults, making Sasha truly break through to mainstream infamy. Ironically, the bipolar female lead character Sasha rejected actually became an overnight sensation after the show aired. Despite all the cringeworthy moments, audiences somehow found her endearing. The actress successfully reinvented her career through this role. Too bad Sasha probably won't get to see any of this from behind bars. 3 years later, Ducky had become a household name in washing machines. They even launched a new front-load washer in collaboration with Meline. The brand didn't sign any new celebrity endorsements during those 3 years. Celebrities may fall from grace, but corporate values endure. My parents retired early, and their greatest joy each day is chatting with netizens and live streams. Selling products is secondary. Their main focus is keeping people company when kids come to them with math questions. The elderly couple will patiently work through the problems with pen and paper under my strategic planning. Over 40 new stores open nationwide, 3-year warranty with unconditional returns and exchanges. All employees receive 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund, guaranteed 8 days off monthly, and strictly enforced 8-hour workdays with no overtime. Annual salary starting at 180,000 RMB. These generous benefits went viral online again, attracting over 1,000 resumes in just one day. Through every wave of success, I've kept past lessons close to heart and stayed true to my original vision. No price hikes, no cutting corners, and no shortchanging our employees. Striving to give back to the community. Story 2. When our sect recruited disciples, everyone assumed I, as the Grand Elder, would choose the most talented candidate, Kyle. Yet unexpectedly, I turned and approached the one everyone dismissed as worthless. Eli, would you honor me by becoming my disciple? In my past life, I took the prodigy Kyle under my wing and nurtured him into the most formidable warrior of his generation, yet he conspired with my junior sister, leaving me gravely wounded on the battlefield until demonic forces hacked me to pieces. Only in death did I realize our world was merely a scripted tale. Kyle, the transmigrator, had always chosen her as his primary love interest. I, the mightiest warrior across 3 realms, was merely the villain obstructing their romance. Given a second life, I walked away without hesitation, leaving Kyle to her, just like in my past life. Junior Sister Faye beat me to the punch by claiming Kyle as her disciple first. The sect master frowned with clear displeasure. Faye, your senior sister hasn't made her choice yet. My junior sister and I came from the same master, having just become elders. This was our first time taking disciples. The difference is, I'm renowned as the prodigy of our generation. Breaking through the golden core stage in my youth and reaching nascent soul before 2 centuries, a once-in-an-era genius, my junior sister. However, has mediocre aptitude. Though we entered Immortal August's tutelage the same year, she remained stuck at early golden core. Had I not given her a hand before my graduation, she'd still be an ordinary disciple of Serene sect, never standing here receiving reverence by both sentiment and reason. She should yield to me. The sect master concealed his displeasure and said diplomatically, merit takes precedence. This is Serene sect's rule. Countless disciples joined for Vera's fame alone. Let her choose first. There are still many promising talents in this batch. You'll have your pick later. 1. Her lips quivered as tears welled up in her eyes. She always gets the best of everything first. If Master hadn't favored her and given all the spirit stones and treasures to her, I wouldn't be any worse than she is now. With visible resentment, the junior sister stepped behind Kyle, who was kneeling in the front row, refusing to retreat even a single step, seeing that reasoning was futile. The senior brother decided to simply take her away by force, only to be stunned when the strikingly handsome youth with ramrod-straight posture suddenly grasped the junior sister's outstretched hand. He rose to his feet, sweeping a frosty gaze across the astonished crowd. In this lifetime, I can acknowledge only Fairy Faye as my master. Should anyone dare force another mentor upon me, with the arrogance unique to prodigies? He shot me a sidelong glance. Then this Serene sect is no place of enlightenment. I'll find my own path elsewhere. Even the sect leader stood dumbfounded. With Kyle's talent, any sect would be eager to take him in. I caught a glimpse of smug delight in my junior sister's eyes. With a careless chuckle, I walked straight to the end of the line and pointed at the frail boy who'd been standing motionless with his head bowed the entire time. I choose him. Everyone stared at me in disbelief. The boy shifted slightly, his face hidden beneath the hood, revealing only a sharp, pale chin. Junior sister, think twice. Taking a disciple means your reputation will be forever tied to theirs. Indeed, Elder Vera, don't act rashly in the heat of the moment. With so many promising candidates, why must you choose? They assumed I'd chosen the least talented out of spite after Faye and Kyle provoked me. I saw the contempt flash across Kyle's face and simply shook my head in calm defiance. Choosing a master or disciple isn't about cultivation level, it's about mutual affinity. Since Kyle and junior sister have taken a liking to each other, it simply wasn't meant to be. As a sect elder, I'd never stand in the way of true connection. He'll do just fine. After the junior sister left with Kyle, the other sect members couldn't hide their resentment. That boy would have had the brightest future under your guidance, yet he chose to follow that incompetent Faye. What kind of love potion did that junior sister slip him, making him swear allegiance to none but her? While others assumed the junior sister had bewitched Kyle, I alone knew the truth. Kyle had come specifically for Faye. In my past life, being the direct disciple of the legendary Immortal August across 3 realms was nothing short of glorious. The world believed I was born with peerless talent, yet none knew my spiritual roots were fractured when I became his disciple. My master painstakingly restored them strand by strand, healing even the deepest wounds in my soul. My junior sister is right. Our master did indeed bestow all the finest resources upon me, but what they don't see are the countless hardships I endured in secret, the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into making it all look effortless. I can't afford to shame our master, this so-called #1 immortal who appears so ethereal and detached from worldly desires. In truth, nothing matters more to him than preserving his godlike reputation. The thought made me chuckle out loud. Ever since our master sacrificed himself as bait in the great war against the demon clan a century ago, perishing together with the demon lord, the reputation of Immortal August's lineage has rested on my shoulders as the senior disciple. Don't let his aloof demeanor fool you. If I tarnish his posthumous reputation, he'll reincarnate just to make me copy recipe books as punishment. I shook my head helplessly. In my past life, I chose Kyle, the most gifted disciple, determined to impart all my knowledge to him, hoping he'd inherit the legacy of Immortal Lord August. Back then, my junior sister had also picked Kyle first, but like our sect leader, I coldly shoved her aside and formed a master-disciple bond with him. I showered him with every rare treasure imaginable, tending to his cultivation and daily needs with meticulous care, more devoted than a father to his own son, yet he showed no shred of respect a disciple owes a master, treating me with indifference as if I owed him some unpayable debt. I convinced myself that geniuses always have their eccentricities. Back when I was the first to break through the golden core realm, I too had that same arrogant disregard for others, even daring to tug at our sect master's beard. Though Kyle shows me no respect, he never refuses any gifts I send his way. Only spirit stones aged over a millennium would do. Elixirs must be personally crafted by the medicine sect's grand elder, and even his bathwater had to be drawn from celestial springs where immortal dews converge. He claimed only such treasures were worthy of his extraordinary talents. Though these treasures are rare and costly, as the Grand Elder of the world's foremost Serenity sect, I could still afford them with some financial strain. Kyle refused to practice the swordsmanship I taught him, instead obsessing over some shady techniques he'd picked up who knows where, dismissing both my reprimands and earnest advice with contempt. At the time, I chalked it up to youthful arrogance, believing he'd come to understand his master's well-intentioned guidance in a few years, to sustain his extravagant needs. I even broke the sect's tradition of elders never leaving our gates, swallowing my pride to take missions from rival sects just to trade for his cultivation resources. Yet Kyle would sneer at me for demeaning myself, since when does a Grand Elder stoop to menial work? He never considered who I was doing this for. After completing a mission, I returned exhausted to August Valley with rare herbs to boost his cultivation, only to find my junior sister practicing swordplay with Kyle in my courtyard. Their movements flowed seamlessly, their coordination effortless. Clearly not their first time dancing this deadly waltz. My junior sister moved with ethereal grace, while Kyle gazed at her with honeyed adoration dripping from his eyes. Now I see where he learned that flashy but useless swordsmanship. Instead of following the cultivation method I personally designed for him, he chose to learn from that worthless loser. Burning with rage, I intervened and stopped their sword practice. Faced with my resentment and fury, my junior sister couldn't hold back her tears as she began explaining her grievances. Turns out she'd been punished for breaking sect rules, forced to take the last remaining disciple, some talentless brat with damaged spiritual roots. So not only did my junior sister refuse to form a pact with him, she outright kicked him off the mountain. The beauty wept silently while Kyle, visibly displeased, shielded her and glared at me, his master, with outright hostility. I'm the one who asked Fairy Fae to teach me swordsmanship. Why bully her? Your rigid, outdated techniques aren't worth my time. I nearly coughed up blood in frustration. That was a custom sword technique I spent countless sleepless nights perfecting for his cultivation, yet he scorns it to learn Fae's flashy but useless moves. In my fury, I confined Kyle to solitary reflection until he comes to his senses. But before that day came, disaster struck. Ever since the Demon Lord was slain by our master at the cost of his life, the demonic remnants have been restless, seizing the moment when the older generation had either fallen in the last great war or abdicated their positions, and before the new generation could fully establish themselves in the immortal realm, they rallied tens of thousands of demonic remnants to launch a full-scale invasion. The 100 immortal sects were forced into battle, and as the foremost of my generation, I naturally took on the mightiest warrior of the demonic horde without hesitation, leading the Serene sect into battle. I never considered these demonic forces a real threat, especially with Kyle fighting by my side. Victory was all but assured, but just as I was cutting through their stronghold like a hot knife through butter, a delicate cry suddenly pierced the air. Faye's sword slipped from her grasp and clattered to the ground as a beast-faced demon lunged at her. I formed a hand seal, ready to eliminate that insignificant pest. In one move, a searing pain suddenly coursed through my entire body. I spat blood, staring at Kyle in disbelief. His face was etched with anguish, blood trickling from his mouth, yet he charged toward Faye without hesitation. He forcibly severed our master-disciple pact, all to save Faye. I watched helplessly as he beheaded the man with a single stroke, cradling Faye protectively, his face bearing a tenderness and devotion I'd never seen before. Yet I endured excruciating agony like 10,000 ants gnawing at my heart, my sword hand trembling uncontrollably as darkness clouded my vision. A master-disciple pact cannot be dissolved once formed unless forcibly severed by one party, precisely why such commitments demand utmost caution. Severing the bond would unleash backlash upon both master and disciple, inflicting unbearable torment. Kyle couldn't possibly be ignorant of what forcibly breaking our pact mid-battle would cost me, yet for Faye's sake, he pushed me toward death without hesitation. Even with my profound cultivation, I couldn't withstand this soul-rending agony. Clinging to my fading consciousness, I struggled to retreat from the encirclement and leave the front line to our sect master, but the demon commander noticed my weakness. His morale soared as he rallied all troops to charge at me. Trapped and exhausted, I could barely hold my ground. A long blade pierced straight through my chest, countless weapons stabbed into my body, yet compared to the agony of backlash, I couldn't even feel the pain of these wounds. I heard my senior brother's heart-wrenching scream, followed by gasps of horror from hundreds of Qingjing sect disciples. Yet Kyle and Faye clung to each other tightly, not even glancing my way. Only in death did I realize this world was but a scripted tale, with Kyle as the transmigrator who naturally sided with the heroine Faye. They'd long pledged their hearts to each other, while I was merely the villain standing in the way of their star-crossed love. Very well then, this lifetime, I'll grant your wish. May you two wretched souls stay together forever. I brought the scrawny Eli back to August Valley, scrutinizing him from every angle, yet detected no trace of spiritual energy fluctuations whatever. I sighed. At worst, I'll keep him as a valley mascot, still better than having Faye drive him down the mountain. The sect leader and fellow disciples weren't wrong to worry. Once a master and apprentice form a spiritual bond, they rise and fall together. Eli with his damaged spiritual roots is just decorative at best, handy for serving tea, but when it comes to battles or sect competitions, dead weight dragging me down, I stared at Eli's malnourished frame, that pale, stubborn face barely the size of my palm peeking from beneath the hood, his slender back still holding itself straight with quiet dignity. For a fleeting moment, the silhouette of another person materialized before my eyes. I shook my head, banishing the image of those white robes from my mind. Our master always preached equality, surely he wouldn't want me to abandon this child either, so in the days that followed, I nursed him back to health with the finest delicacies, using rare spiritual herbs from the valley to mend his damaged spiritual roots. Others claimed I was just nursing wounded pride after being humiliated by my junior sister and Kyle, but the truth is, I simply couldn't bring myself to abandon this child who'd climbed the mountain against all odds with nothing but mortal determination. Besides, when I first ascended the mountain, my spiritual roots were damaged too, though not as severely as his, yet our master never gave up on me either. Under my careful feeding, Eli has filled out a bit, with healthy color returning to his once gaunt cheeks. Upon closer inspection, he's actually quite the handsome young man with delicate features. Given time to regain his vitality, he could easily rival that ungrateful wretch Kyle. Quite pleased, I pinched Eli's cheeks and studied him from every angle, struck by an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Have we met somewhere before? The moment the words left my mouth, I shook my head, dismissing the thought. Eli is barely 18. To me, these past 17 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Since his birth, I've never once left the mountain gates. How could I have possibly met him? I was so absorbed in the joys of raising a child that I failed to notice the fleeting disappointment in his eyes. Eli's beanpole physique was simply due to malnutrition. At his age, with proper nourishment and exercise, a boy's frame fills out quickly. His face remained pale, though no longer sickly so, with lips crimson as blood, sharp brows, and starry eyes. He carried an otherworldly allure without appearing effeminate. Female cultivators from neighboring peaks began frequenting August Valley under various pretexts, nearly depleting my humble mountain retreat. I wagged my finger disapprovingly. Stop showing your face in public from now on. Even with all my wealth as your master, I can't afford to be milked dry like this. Eli rubbed his sore ear and nodded obediently. Don't worry, master, I didn't even speak to them. My heart belongs only to you. Something about his words fell off, though I couldn't pinpoint why, so I simply flopped onto the bed and fell asleep. In my drowsy state, I seemed to hear a faint sigh by my ear. After all these years, you're still as grumpy as ever. There was laughter in the voice, but when I turned to look, no one was there. When I opened my eyes the next morning, the courtyard stood empty. Gone was the familiar dark figure who used to light the fire and prepare breakfast before I woke. Where's my disciple? Where did my big disciple go? He's barely cultivated any power. If he gets into a fight, he'll definitely get hurt. I was getting frantic, just as I grabbed my sword to go search for him. Little cultivator Luna from neighboring Emerald Peak came running over in a panic. Elder, trouble, Eli's been captured by the Orchid Court. My heart skipped a beat. The Orchid Pavilion, that's Faye's turf. When I arrived at the Orchid Pavilion, only Faye and Kyle were in the courtyard. With no sign of Eli. Furious, I drew my sword and pointed it at Faye. Where's my apprentice? Kyle immediately stepped in front of her. Faye's snow-white robes fluttered with an ethereal grace, perfectly matching her name, yet it irked me to no end. She had no right to wear white, just a worthless trash. Is he really worth all this effort from you, senior sister? Kyle sneered. Could it be that Elder Vera actually cares about this good-for-nothing, treating him as her own disciple? What a pity. The ultimate victor was my master after all. This was predestined, and no one could alter it. Faye assumed her master's airs and playfully rapped Kyle's head. Elder Vera is still your senior. Is that any way to speak to an elder? Though Eli is useless, he's still your sworn disciple. She glanced at my wrist, her expression shifting to surprise. Could it be you've never sealed the pact with him? Seems you're not content with this arrangement either, are you? So she's here to drive a wedge between master and disciple. I never formed a master-disciple bond with Eli because that would permanently tie us together. He'd be forced to follow me everywhere. Without magic, he'd be reduced to fetching tea and water like a servant, then dragged into life-or-death battles. I couldn't bear that fate for him. Done with this bickering couple's nonsense, I reached for my sword. A terrifying aura suddenly engulfed the entire Lanua Pavilion. The two across from them abruptly changed expressions. A figure in dark robes approached. Kyle tensed up defensively, but upon recognizing the newcomer, instantly reverted to his usual arrogant demeanor. Well, if it isn't the little good-for-nothing, that overwhelming pressure vanished as quickly as it appeared. I couldn't pinpoint its source, yet it carried a faint, unsettling familiarity. Faye frowned. Wasn't someone supposed to keep an eye on him? How did he slip out? Still clad in his usual black robes, Eli ignored their remarks and strode toward me, his gaze profound and reverent. "Master, do you truly believe that?" What? Before I could process what was happening, Eli's had slipped back, revealing his breathtakingly handsome face. Somehow, he'd shed his usual shy demeanor, radiating an enigmatic aura that made even the arrogant cow beside him look like an awkward teenager. Faye's eyes lit up uncontrollably the moment she saw his face. Blame it on Eli being too low-key, always hiding his face under that oversized hood, and Faye rarely stepping out. No wonder she'd never seen his true face all this time. Oblivious, Kyle pointed his sword at Eli. "What are you up to?" Eli stared at him like he was an idiot. "You dragged me here and now point blades at my master. Shouldn't I be the one asking questions?" Kyle opened his mouth to retort, but Faye yanked him aside. She giggled coquettishly while her gaze lingered on the person beside me. "Senior Sister, I mean no harm, but our Orchid Court is modest compared to August Valley's wealth. Kyle is the most promising disciple of his generation, and training him alone strains my resources, since August Valley has abundance to spare and Eli doesn't need them, perhaps, so she finally couldn't afford Kyle's expenses and decided to target me as her cash cow." Faye's abilities were limited, yet her ambitions ran high. She refused mundane missions but feared dangerous ones, leaving her with meager rewards, barely surviving on that paltry elder's stipend. Managing her own expenses was manageable, but with this money-guzzling addition, it didn't take long for her Lonroa pavilion to be completely drained. "Do I look like some kind of pushover to you? Kyle isn't even my disciple. Why should I spend a dime on him?" Faye retorted defiantly. "Because I'm also the master's disciple. Kyle's achievements reflect directly on our master's reputation, with your own apprentice being utterly useless. Immortal Lord August's legacy now rests entirely on Kyle's shoulders. Surely you don't want the world to think our master's entire lineage is full of failures." My expression turned frosty. She knew my master was my weakness, so she deliberately used him to control me. Before I could speak, a mocking laugh came from beside me. "No wonder Fairy Faye remains the weakest among the elders after all this time." "What do you mean by that?" The two glared at each other. "Seems all your training went into thickening your skin." Eli idly played with my wrist, looking somewhat aggrieved. "Master, you still haven't answered the question I asked earlier. Master, is it because I lack cultivation that you hesitate to form a pact with me?" So that's what was troubling him earlier. I stood on tiptoe and patted his head. "Don't listen to those troublemakers sowing discord. All the rare treasures in my household shall be yours to use." Faye flushed with indignation. "Vera, don't be ungrateful." Eli's spiritual roots are damaged. No matter how many treasures you waste on him, it's like feeding a meat bun to a dog that'll never return. Better invest everything in Kyle. At least you'll get credited as his mentor, honoring our master's efforts. I shot her an icy glare. "Dogs, who could outdo you lot in being dogs?" With that, I took Eli's hand and strode out of Lonroa Pavilion without a backward glance. No one dared to risk their lives blocking the Grand Elder's path, leaving only Faye and Kyle fuming helplessly behind me. After returning, Eli sulked for ages. At first I thought he blamed me for failing to protect him when that wretched couple took him. It wasn't until he shot me those watery, peach blossom eyes full of reproach multiple times that I suddenly remembered what he'd asked me. A bitter taste rose in my heart. How terrified he must be of being abandoned by me. I dragged him into the room and patiently laid out the stakes for him. "I can't guarantee I'll restore your spiritual roots while you stay by my side serving tea and water. If you ever grow weary of it, I could give you funds to seek decent work in the mortal world, but if we form this bond, you'll be stuck as my errand boy for life." Eli's eyes sparkled like an eager puppy's. "This disciple is willing. With master's formidable skills, my spiritual roots will surely be restored." Moved by his sincerity, I finally sighed and produced the pre-prepared contract. He swiftly drew a blade across his wrist before I could react. Crimson blood mingled on the covenant parchment, leaving our unique mark upon both wrists. "From now on, you represent your master's honor. Never again provoke conflicts lightly. Is that clear?" After that day, Eli became possessed with demonic energy, sword training before dawn, roaming valleys by daylight, and brewing elixirs through the night. The healthy weight I'd nurtured melted away before my aching eyes. "Don't push yourself so hard. I'm no delicate maiden needing your protection." Yet there was something in Eli's eyes I couldn't quite decipher. "This has always been my duty." I simply took him for a devoted disciple and thought nothing more of it, but after forming our spiritual pact, his spiritual roots gradually began to regenerate. I was utterly astonished. Given the severity of his damaged spiritual roots, I'd hardly dared to hope for any recovery at all. "Since when do spiritual roots regenerate faster than eating a meal?" "Master, look, I have talent too." His eyes sparkled with equal parts pride and reassurance. I patted his head with quiet satisfaction. Before I knew it, he'd grown taller again. I had to stretch my arm to reach the top of his head. Eli bent down, nestling his tousled head into my palm. A strange yet familiar warmth surged from my hand straight to my heart. My gaze deepened as I lifted him. By sheer coincidence, Eli shares my water spirit root affinity. So does our master. He founded our sect and created the peerless Shamshia sword. art, an invincible technique. Even the so-called demon sovereign, the mightiest across 3 realms, could only match in equal combat. Though I'm now among the world's foremost cultivators, I've barely grasped a fraction of his mastery. Somehow, I always believed Eli could do it, so I began teaching him the Shamshia sword technique. Whether due to natural talent or extraordinary effort, Eli quickly grasped its essence. Combined with his restored spiritual roots, his progress was astonishing, even showing signs of surpassing Kyle. Meanwhile, tensions arose between Faye and Kyle. Kyle's cultivation has been stuck at the foundation establishment stage, making no progress no matter how harshly his junior sister scolds him. In his previous life, Kyle would have already broken through to the golden core stage by this time. Her patience was wearing thin. The Orchid Pavilion had always been resource poor, and she was practically penniless. Every spirit stone and medicinal herb she painstakingly obtained went to Kyle first, leaving her exhausted and empty-handed. What infuriated her more was hearing how Eli's spiritual roots had been restored. His rapid progress and growing reputation now threatened to overshadow Kyle's standing. The more anxious she grew, the harsher she became with Kyle, eventually forbidding him from resting and forcing him to practice the Shamshia sword art day and night. Kyle possessed a fire spiritual root, which inherently clashed with the water-aligned Shamshia sword art. Deprived of replenishment and exhausted, whether from strain or stress, he collapsed. Still, I couldn't care less about their petty squabbles. Whatever happens is their own doing, none of my concern. As Eli's cultivation advanced, his demand for spirit stones and treasures surged. To ensure his undivided focus, I took it upon myself to descend the mountain and procure them. That day, I was hauling a sack of spirit herbs towards August Valley, humming a tune as I walked. This bag could brew over a dozen elixirs, enough to keep that brat Eli supplied for a month. Giving me some peace and quiet. Cheered by the thought, I quickened my pace, but froze abruptly upon reaching the mountain gate. My chest lurched as the contract sigil on my wrist flickered ominously, its glow dimming by the second. My mind went blank as I sprinted with all my might. Eli's in trouble. In my panic, I forgot to summon my sword and dashed up the mountain gate like the wind. There on the execution platform, Eli was bound by heavy chains, his dark robes soaked through with blood, though the color was indistinguishable. Crimson liquid had already pooled across the ground. Kyle stood poised with his sword, ready to drive the blade into Eli's body once more. The sight struck me like a thunderbolt. Blood rushed to my head as I completely forgot sect rules. In one swift leap, I landed on the immortal slaying platform and struck Kyle with a crushing palm strike. I hadn't held back my strength. The blow sent him flying off the platform, crashing heavily onto the ground where he rolled several times before being barely caught by fellow disciples. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I stared at the bloodied figure before me, unsure where to place them, for Eli's pallid face managed a weak smile. Master, I'm fine. Vera, by storming the immortal execution platform and injuring our disciples, you've violated sect rules. The penalty is golden core extraction and 49 lashes. Faye pointed her sword at me with false bravado. I unfastened Eli's chains and rose, casting an icy, merciless gaze across the assembly. Fine, I sneered, curling my lips. If any of you dare challenge me, you'll find me in August Valley. This elder will see this through to the end. I brought Eli back to August Valley, treating his horrific wounds, while the sect master arrived belatedly from another faction. Seeing the storm clouds on my face, he shrank back nervously. I've already heard the full account from the junior disciples, though I don't want to believe Eli would do such things. The time mirror clearly captured him forcing himself on Faye. Eli sneered in disgust. The biggest hole in this story is that I wouldn't even look twice at her. Why would I lay a finger on her? He curled his lip and muttered under his breath. That dimwit. God knows how he became sect leader. My hand froze mid-motion. The sect leader gulped audibly before speaking cautiously, according to sect rules and Faye's wishes. This matter should be brought before the tribunal for joint judgment by the elders, if, all right. I nodded calmly. The sect leader hadn't expected me to agree so readily. He sighed in relief and cheerfully returned to prepare for the tribunal. He celebrated too soon. When I stepped onto the tribunal platform, the elders looked like they'd swallowed flies. The sect leader rolled his eyes back and nearly fainted on the spot. Eli should have been standing here, but instead it's just me and Faye, 2 junior elders. My heart clenched. I said without batting an eye, let's begin. A flash of venom crossed Faye's face. Since senior sister values Eli so much that you'd rather die in his place, don't blame me for abandoning our sex camaraderie. The disciples crowding below the stage gaped at the unfolding confrontation. The tribunal of judgment is no ordinary trial. The losing party faces 100 lightning strikes, likely paying with their very life. In that moment, the crowd's gazes toward Eli brimmed with envy, yet he seemed oblivious, his stare fixed unwaveringly on me. The head disciple regained his composure and barked the command to begin. Faye first produced the mirror of retrospection, then faithfully replayed the exact scene displayed that day on the immortal execution platform. Disciple Eli of the Serene sect harbored improper intentions toward this elder, attempting coercion without success, according to sect law. The punishment shall be death by 1,000 cuts before being cast from the immortal execution platform. She glared at me Indignantly, Senior Sister, when you stormed the immortal execution platform last time and injured my disciples, were you trying to personally violate the sect rules established by our master? I simply couldn't stand hearing her mention our master. The River Mirror faithfully records past events without possibility of alteration, making it the most irrefutable evidence with this recording. Eli's guilt was practically set in stone, she gloated. Well, Senior Sister, your precious disciple isn't as innocent as he appears. You've sacrificed everything for him, yet when he knelt begging me to take him in, did he spare a single thought for his moss? Faye's voice cut off abruptly. She stared in shock at the shattered fragments on the ground. Staggering backward a few steps, I clapped my hands impatiently. Where's that damn dog barking? So annoying. The others were just regaining their composure after the sudden turn of events. Did the Grand Elder just crush the mirror of retrospection with her bare hands? That legendary indestructible mirror, said to withstand all forces, shattered by her mere grip. The sect master finally snapped. Vera, keep this nonsense up and your master's coffin won't be able to contain his rage. Ignoring him, I waved my hand and conjured an image from thin air. Is this the long-lost art of manifestation? Watching his stunned expression, I chuckled softly. Let me show you something interesting. Ignoring Faye's ashen face, I replayed the entire scene, how she'd sneaked into August Valley, flirted shamelessly with Eli only to be rejected, then falsely accused him of harassment, and finally how she'd cast an illusionary barrier around the mirror of retrospection to deceive everyone. No, that's not what happened. Faye's lips turned bloodless as she staggered and collapsed. While I bent down to pick up a translucent shard, I rolled my eyes. The barrier fragments are all here. Anything left to say for yourself? The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Who would have thought Fairy Faye, always acting so aloof, was actually this kind of person? Exactly, putting on that saintly act while secretly seething with jealousy toward the Grand Elder. The sect leader flew into a rage and immediately demanded Faye be tied to the punishment pillar. Wait, Faye glared venomously at the person pulling her, her expression darkening as her gaze suddenly snapped toward Kyle in the audience, eyes burning with poison. You take my punishment? Kyle froze, staring at Faye in disbelief. The leading lady he'd personally chosen would actually do this to him. Useless wretch. If you hadn't been beaten like a dog by Vera, Eli would be dead by now, and I wouldn't have suffered this humiliation. Though despicable, this act doesn't violate sect rules. Kyle couldn't refuse Faye's command. Bound to the punishment pillar, he endured strike after strike of heavenly lightning until his voice failed him completely. How can the Grand Elder and Elder Faye, who trained under the same master, be so different in temperament? True enough, the Grand Elder willingly risked his life to stand before the tribunal for his disciple, while Elder Faye made her apprentice take the punishment in her stead. Poor Kyle, he turned down the Grand Elder's offer to follow Faye devotedly, and look where that got him. Eli's got all the luck. Not only did the Grand Elder restore his spiritual roots and help him progress at breakneck speed, but he's also got a supremely powerful master backing him, shattering the mirror of retrospection with one hand. That's downright godlike. I dragged the barely suppressing his laughter Eli back to August Valley before the wagging flower tail he was hiding behind his back became visible to everyone. Why didn't you fight back? I made him stand in punishment. With your current cultivation level, you could have taken both of them on. At the very least, you had ways to escape and find me. Why just stand there like a fool and let them capture you? Eli's dog ears drooped. Master warned me not to provoke them. I didn't want to cause you trouble. Stunned, I pinched his cheek hard, equal parts exasperation and affection. You silly mutt. It took Kyle a full year of convalescence to barely recover. I met him once, and now he's a shadow of his former self. The fiery ambition he had when first ascending the mountain is long gone. His eyes lit up when he saw me, but he quickly turned away, clearly wrestling with inner turmoil. I knew exactly what was tormenting him. Sure enough, within days he appeared at the gates of August Valley. Eli stepped in front of me, eyeing him warily. What do you want? Kyle hesitated, his gaze shifting past Eli to me with unreadable intensity. I patted Eli's shoulder reassuringly before leading Kyle to the bamboo grove beyond the valley. Go on, what is it? Kyle suddenly took a step back and bowed to me. 5. I begged the elder to petition the sect leader to take me as a disciple. Me. Are you out of your mind or am I? Weren't you the one who swore you'd worship none but Faye? What's this nonsense about now? Kyle pressed his lips tight, that trademark arrogance of a prodigy still clinging to him, yet those hollow eyes told me everything I needed to know. That lightning strike must have jolted his memories of past lives back into this damn kid's head. It dawned on me how I'd been played for a fool, bankrolling him all this time, now seeing my own dire straits. He's trying to pull the same trick to make me bail him out again. I begged the Grand Elder to plead with the sect master to annul my master-disciple contract with Elder Faye. I studied him leisurely. The contract can be dissolved unilaterally by either party. Why involve the sect master? Beyond the contracting master and disciple, sect leaders may also nullify such pacts before witnesses. He forcibly severed the contract in his past life, so I hesitate now. Does he dread repeating that sin, or does some lingering affection for Faye remain, or is He's simply afraid to cross the story's heroine, a venomous voice cut through the air, and I watched Kyle shudder violently, his face draining of color. Faye sauntered over, shooting me a venomous glare. You already have Eli, senior sister, why must you seduce my disciple too? Stop projecting your shamelessness onto others. It was your disciple who came begging to my August Valley, pleading to become my apprentice. I can show you the memory crystal if you don't believe me. Kyle froze in panic. Jerking his head up to stare at me with utter disbelief, I shrugged. You'd better take him back and work on fixing your master-apprentice relationship. I watched as Faye led Kyle away, his trembling shoulders barely containing his emotions, while my lips curled involuntarily. Nothing beats watching two snakes turn on each other. Things have quieted down at the Orchid Pavilion recently, but now trouble's brewing with the sect leader again. I sat in my elder's seat while the sect leader beside me ranted animatedly. The demon clans are stirring lately, seems the three realms won't know peace for long. He glanced at me with that look of unspoken words. Cut to the chase. When does the fighting start? My senior brother choked back his words and sighed. Soon, at the latest. Next month, I nodded. About the same timeline as my previous life. The next day, the 100 immortal sects sent their declarations of war and began battle preparations against the demonic tribes. As expected, I got assigned to the demon army's main force again, just a bunch of ragtag misfits. Our serene sect could wipe them out in minutes. Haha. Watching the sect master laugh heartily while Faye stood silently below, I felt an uneasy premonition. It feels like ages since I last saw Kyle. My heart nearly stopped when I saw the two of them again. Faye, what the hell did you do to him? Kyle stood before me, deathly pale with hollow eyes, his every movement like a marionette on invisible strings. Faye's face twisted with malice, her gaze burning with resentment and hatred as it locked onto me. Eli shielded me behind him. Master, they've turned him into a puppet. A puppet. My heart lurched in shock. This is clearly the long-lost forbidden art. How did Faye master it? With no time to think, the demonic horde surged like a tidal wave as I led the Qingjing sect into battle. As long as they don't interfere with me in this lifetime, whether they live or die means nothing to me. Faye manipulated Kyle to engage the enemy while hiding in the rear. Kyle moved like an unfeeling puppet, oblivious even to blade wounds, a perfect killing machine. The ominous premonition in my heart grew heavier as I decapitated a demon soldier, its green blood splattering across my armor. Suddenly, a crimson flash caught my peripheral vision. I dodged instinctively as a longsword grazed my cheek, shearing off a lock of hair. Kyle. Faye had materialized behind me unnoticed. My reckless charge had plunged me deep into enemy lines, far from the rest of the Serene sect who couldn't possibly witness this confrontation. I attempted a telepathic distress call, only for the approaching demon warlord to sever the connection mid-transmission. Now I see the whole picture. You're colluding with the demon clan. Faye's grin turned vicious, her white dress spotless yet devoid of its former purity. So what if I ally with demons? I'd do anything to kill you. Staring at her deranged face, a dull ache rose in my chest. You'd betray our sect and turn your own disciples into puppets, just to kill me. Do you hate me that much? Faye pointed her sword with gritted teeth. Since the day I became your junior, I've lived in your shadow. I'm done with this. Why should you be the prodigy while I'm forever Vera's little sister? The cultivation world will remember the name Faye, me, by killing me. Is that it? She retreated 2 steps. You'll die by demonic hands. What's that to do with me? As I finished speaking, countless demon soldiers charged at me, but they posed no threat whatsoever. They were obliterated in an instant. Faye's expression grew increasingly ferocious. Just as I thought. That useless Kyle may be worthless, but he's got a point. A few demonic minions can't possibly stop you. I stared in shock at the disheveled figure behind her, my eyes widening in disbelief. Eli, master, I'm sorry. This useless disciple has only held you back. Faye smirked triumphantly, pressing her sword against his neck. Either dissolve our master-disciple pact, or I'll kill you right now. Yet Eli paid her no heed. Forgive me, master, I was careless. Never thought they'd resort to such crude methods as poisoning. Faye applied pressure. The razor-sharp blade bit into flesh, drawing thin trails of blood, yet Eli remained oblivious, his lips curling into a faint smile. Someone like me would only be a burden to you. If I die, so be it, as long as you remember me, master. With that, he threw himself toward the sword's edge. Eli, my vision blurred with rage. I'll break the pact. Let me undo it. Under his heartbroken gaze, I silently recited the incantation. The golden glow around my wrist faded, and the familiar agony returned, yet it paled in comparison to the dull ache in my chest. Tears had long since begun falling unnoticed as I spat a mouthful of blood, collapsing weakly to the ground. Master, as my vision darkened, I saw demon soldiers charging with raised blades while Eli lay abandoned nearby, barely clinging to life. At death's door, a blinding white light suddenly enveloped me. The demons who touched this radiance shrieked in agony, fleeing only to disintegrate into dust within moments. Consciousness was slowly returning. This is the Shemshia sword technique. Eli had somehow stepped in front of me, his dark robes fluttering, yet his silhouette felt strangely familiar. Master, he paused, a faint smirk playing at the corner of his lips, finally recognized me. My foolish disciple, you're August, the demon lord who'd fought in that ancient war. Instantly recognized his identity upon witnessing the Shemshia sword technique. Aren't you supposed to be dead? The demonic cultivators scattered in panic, but none could outrun the rapidly expanding white light. Faye was even more terrified than them. After years as master and disciple, she instantly recognized her teacher. She stood frozen in place, muttering in disbelief. No, this can't be happening. Kyle, go. She commanded Kyle, intending to use him as cannon fodder to buy herself time to escape, but the next instant, she coughed up blood and collapsed to the ground. Kyle, you, 6. Kyle severed their master-apprentice bond with his own hands. He was no longer just Faye's disciple, he had become her puppet. Breaking the covenant meant exile from this world, leaving him to fade into oblivion. Kyle's body gradually dissipated as his consciousness grew clearer. In his final moments, he gazed deeply at me and murmured, I'm sorry. Faye was dragged onto the immortal execution platform. Last time, it was she who stood below judging Eli. This time, it was Eli standing in judgment over her from below the platform. The sect leader, now aware of Eli's true identity, wiped cold sweat from his brow as he trembled at the head of the assembly. Ironically, though he feared nothing in his youth, my master was the sole exception to his bravado. With a heart turned to ashes, Faye received the expected verdict. Her golden core would be excised, she'd endure 100 heavenly strikes, then be cast from the immortal slaying platform into eternal damnation. I gazed at the crowd's satisfied expressions below the stage. To hell with scripts and leading ladies. Who's the protagonist? That's for me to decide. After the matter was settled, the sect leader respectfully escorted us back to August Valley. The Grand Elder single-handedly annihilated the demon army and captured the traitor. No wonder the sect master holds her in such high regard. Hearing this, the actual perpetrator of these deeds shot me a glance. I remained utterly unperturbed, accepting the credit with perfect composure. He shook his head with that faint smile, the same resigned expression he'd always worn after my mischief. Master, don't walk so fast. Wait for me. Eli popped out from behind. I shot him a sidelong glance, acting childish for your age. Your disciple is now Eli, making you my master. Stop being coy. It's nauseating. You used to love it when I acted cute with you. Why are you playing dumb now? Moment I picture you whining with August's face. I know you're up to no good. Eli protested pitifully. This disciple is wronged. When have I ever harmed my master? So you've been deceiving me all this time. Don't you have anything to say for yourself? The two figures bickered playfully as they walked hand in hand toward August Valley. For a fleeting moment, time seemed to rewind 100 years. Nothing had changed at all. Story 2. When the zombie apocalypse erupted and the world was reborn, my mother and I lay low in our fortress-like home, indulging daily in a variety of foods like hot pot, steak, and crawfish, never repeating the same meal. In my past life, my kind-hearted mother shared our supplies with our neighbors. Unexpectedly, their gratitude did not manifest as we hoped. Instead, they not only robbed us of our supplies but also pushed us into the midst of a zombie horde. The evil in human hearts proved far more terrifying than the zombies themselves. 10 days before the apocalypse, I was reborn, sitting at my desk at work. I stared at the date May 20th displayed on my phone, my heart pounding like a drum, struggling to believe that I had actually been reborn. Trembling, I dialed my mother's number. As soon as she answered, before I could even speak, I heard her tense and serious voice. Elise, come home right now. I frowned in confusion. My mother was always gentle. Such a tone was unheard of before the apocalypse. Could it be? Hurriedly, I asked, what's wrong? Mom, after a pause, she spoke gravely. What if I told you that zombies are about to erupt and the apocalypse is near? Would you believe me? I believe, I replied quickly, to my delight. It turned out my mother had also been reborn. This saved us a lot of trouble. I could openly stockpile supplies without worrying about her giving them away to others. After all, no one would want to relive our past experiences. We decided to go home and plan our strategy. I found an excuse to take 10 days off work and headed home. Before leaving, I warned a close colleague, the situation is unstable, better stock up on supplies at home to avoid trouble in case of a lockdown. Remember what happened in City S? Even money couldn't buy you necessities. This hint was more practical than telling them about the impending zombie threat. After all, without the knowledge from my past life, I wouldn't have believed in zombies either. Our abilities were only sufficient for self-preservation, and that was all we could manage. On my way home, as I Entered a list of supplies into my phone's memo app. A thought struck me: if people broke into our apartment like last time, hoarding supplies would be pointless, as they'd just get stolen. Thus, our first defense needed to be against our immediate neighbors, and only then against the zombies. I pondered our strategy as 02. When I got home, my mother excitedly handed me an A4 paper. Look at the list of supplies I've made. At 45, she looked no more than in her 30s, dressed in a red spaghetti strap dress, her long wavy chestnut hair reaching her waist, her fair skin and bright eyes sparkled as if to say, "Am I impressive? I've got our supplies sorted out so quickly." Honestly, my mother truly deserved the title beautiful woman, with a maturity that blended with a touch of youthful charm. Her allure was undeniable, attracting many admirers. In contrast, I wondered why I hadn't inherited any of her traits. With a round face, small eyes, dark circles, and bags under my eyes, as a 22-year-old computer science student and coder, my daily attire consisted of a white t-shirt and jeans. I had already given up on managing my looks at such a young age. Fortunately, my optimistic nature, coupled with my mother's constant and effortless praise, meant I never really saw this as a problem. Looking at the list, it was less a list of supplies and more a menu: 1,000 buckets of bottled water, 50 cases of bottled water, 100 large bags of rice and grains, 100 self-heating meal boxes, 100 cases of instant noodles and snail noodles, 500 pounds of various frozen meats, 100 pounds of various dried vegetables and fruits, 100 cases of snacks. In the early days of the apocalypse, we lived comfortably because hoarding food was one of my mother's hobbies. Although it was just the two of us, she often bought in bulk because it was too good a deal to pass up, which meant we often had more than we could eat and ended up sharing with our neighbors. Before the apocalypse, everyone liked us. For this reason, after the apocalypse, however, they targeted us for the same. That's why I can leave cooking entirely to my mom. But I silently pulled out my phone and showed her the list I wrote on the memo on the way home: generator, solar and wind power systems as the electricity will go out in the apocalypse, medicine, anti-inflammatory, fever-reducing drugs, multivitamins, 50 boxes each, cat litter, 20 large bags, convenient if the sewage system gets blocked, gas masks, 100 sets, safety, strong locks and barricades, self-defense attack weapons, clubs, knives, etc., surveillance, pinhole cameras, telescopes, etc. My mother immediately gave me a thumbs up and went into full praise mode. "Sweetheart, you're so thoughtful. How do you manage to be so kind, cute, and meticulous?" I was flattered inside, but as a woman in STEM, I had to maintain my cool demeanor. I had to break a harsh truth to her. "Mom, our house can't fit all this stuff." My mom, she glanced at our modest 3-bedroom apartment of about 100 square meters, fearing just the 1,000 buckets of water would take up 2 bedrooms. I said, "Also, what if, like in a past life, neighbors break in? How can we, 2 weak women, protect ourselves? All these supplies would just be handed over to others, and then we would be pushed out to feed the zombies." My mom, 03 me. "Lastly, how much money do we have left? I know this one." My mom immediately went to her room and brought back 3 bank cards. "Before your dad passed away, he set up a trust with his life savings at the bank, transferring money to these 3 cards every month. This card is for my living expenses, 50,000 yuan a month. This one is for your tuition and living expenses, 20,000 yuan a month. And the last one is your dowry, also 20,000 yuan a month." Years ago, my mom was the cherished beauty of her family, and my dad was a short, unattractive man from a rural area. Their love story, which could fill a book, is simply the tale of a city girl falling in love with a country boy with potential. After overcoming numerous obstacles, the male lead eventually succeeded in his business, proving everyone wrong. If only my dad hadn't passed away. Looking at these 3 cards, and considering my mom's spending habits, I nervously asked, "Mom, how much is left?" My mom blinked guiltily, a bit embarrassed. "I live paycheck to paycheck." I wasn't surprised at all and asked, "Did you use my card too?" My mom quickly said, No, your tuition card still has 430,000 yuan. I've never touched the dowry card. Your dad made me promise not to." I immediately calculated the total savings. 20,000 a month means 240,000 a year, 2 million in 10 years, plus 430,000 from the tuition card, and my own savings from my salary, 220,000, making a total of 305 million yuan. This was more than I expected, truly a testament to my dad's foresight. I quickly turned to offer incense in front of my dad's memorial tablet. My mom asked, "So where are we going to put all this stuff?" After placing the incense, I turned to her and said seriously, "Mom, let's go back to Wealth Community." Wealth Community is a well-known upscale neighborhood in our city, where we used to live in a luxurious duplex at the top of the building. After my grandparents and dad passed away, it was just the 2 of us living in that lonely 600 square meter duplex. My mom often became sentimental when she saw reminders of them, and she cried throughout that year. If it Hadn't been for me, she might have followed them in death later. I suggested moving, which led us to our current 3-bedroom apartment. That's when my mom started to love hoarding, saying that filling the house made her feel accomplished, that it felt like having a home. But as precious as the memories of our former home were, life is more important. After 10 years, I believe she can face it. I continued, Mom, think about the past life. Dad and Grandma and Grandpa definitely wouldn't want us to be bitten by zombies. We need a safer place. Remember, Dad said that place used to belong to some mysterious big shot, with top-notch security. Even the windows are bulletproof. Plus, the 600 square meters over 2 floors can surely accommodate everything on this list. Here's a mission for you. Fill up 550 square meters, and just leave one room for the 2 of us to sleep in. My mother's eyes suddenly lit up. All right, let's go back and move now. I stopped my mom, who was about to start packing. Don't rush. We can move tonight. Mom, did you forget how we were betrayed by people in our community in our previous lives? The evil in people's hearts is far more terrifying than zombies, so we must be cautious of people from both communities and not let anyone find out where we live. All our supplies must be moved in quietly in the middle of the night. That makes sense. You always think things through. My mom nodded, realizing it a bit later. At 3 a.m. that night, my mom and I packed a large suitcase with essential items and headed to the underground garage, opting to take the stairs instead of the elevator to avoid running into anyone familiar. Even though it's unlikely to encounter anyone in the middle of the night, one can never be too cautious in these apocalyptic times. Luckily, we live on the 2nd floor, and with me being strong, it wasn't much of a problem. When we reached the underground garage, I placed the suitcase in the car and walked to the driver's seat. Elise, there are cameras. My mom suddenly warned me, looking terrified at the cameras in the corners of the garage. If the property management or security discovers us, we're done for. I don't blame my mom for being scared. In our past life, it was they who led the looting of our supplies. In times of apocalypse, any exposure of resources could lead to disaster. I scoffed, pointing at the camera facing us. Don't panic, only this one works. My mom wasn't reassured. But isn't it filming us right now? Too bad it broke half an hour ago. Get in the car, I said calmly as I opened the car door. My mom hesitated for a moment, then got into the passenger seat. Did you do this? I didn't see you go down. Don't forget what your daughter does for a living. Hacking a few cameras is a piece of cake. My mom looked at me with admiration and whispered in awe, You're too incredible. Even your dad wasn't as capable as you at your age. As we drove out of the garage, the barrier at the security booth automatically lifted, and I quickly drove the car out of the community. My mom, seeing the security guard fast asleep in the booth, relaxed quite a bit. Thank goodness he was asleep. It's not just luck, he sleeps like a log every night. As a software developer, I often work late and always hear the security uncle's loud snoring whenever I come back. However, getting into the wealth community wasn't going to be that easy. As a high-end community, the property management was not so lax. The duty officer was a young man, and cars needed a card to enter. Seeing me confidently drive in, my mom was as nervous as a startled bird. Honey, why isn't he asleep? Memories of the past constantly reminded her of the danger. She really didn't want to experience being torn apart by zombies again. I said, Firstly, this guy is a new security guard, and we're wearing masks and wigs. It's late at night with poor lighting. He won't remember us. Secondly, his glasses are broken. He's practically blind right now. My mom looked at me, both suspicious and pleasantly surprised. How did you know all that? You haven't fallen for him, have you? I rolled my eyes at her. Esme was swooning over him yesterday. She told me that a very handsome new security guard had started working in her neighborhood and even showed me a photo of him. Esme is a colleague of mine. Mom looked skeptical. But how did you know he wasn't wearing glasses? Me. Because I bumped into him this afternoon, and I accidentally stepped on his glasses and smashed them. Mom, I'm impressed. I really am. There was a discreet side door in the corner of the garage, which could only be opened with a card swipe. It led to an elevator, and you also needed to swipe a card to select the floor. The elevator went straight to the penthouse. I have to say, the previous owner must have been quite a figure to have a private elevator like that. This design has made us a lot safer. After returning to the penthouse, we only stayed briefly before leaving. As we passed the guard booth, my mom took a good look at the young security guard and then nodded affirmatively at me. This young man is indeed quite handsome and vibrant, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. You might consider him. I was speechless. Oh, come on, Mom. He looks about your age. I hope he hasn't dropped out of school to work. If you hadn't skipped a grade, you'd still be in university too, I answered casually. He is a university student, just filling in for his dad. Temporarily, Mom's eyes lit up instantly, and I quickly added, with doomsday around the corner, let's not think about the impossible. Mom, in the following days, we started moving supplies in earnest. While everything seemed calm on the surface, we were actually living in constant fear and tension. We had to be extremely careful during this process. Any exposure could not only ruin our painstaking preparations but could also cost us our lives. During the day, Mom was responsible for placing orders online and maintaining the illusion that we were just staying at home, while I usually left early and returned late, keeping a low profile. Thus, I handled picking up and organizing the goods, storing them temporarily in a warehouse I rented between two neighborhoods. Whether it was deliveries from online orders or offline suppliers, everything was sent to this address. At midnight, we'd quietly move everything to the penthouse. This also prevented our actual address from being exposed. For safety, we used different rental cars every day and wore different wigs and outfits to avoid recognition during the moves. I even used a robot called Little White, which my dad and I had developed to increase our efficiency. Controlled by me, Little White extended its mechanical arms to load our supplies box by box into the elevator, and then from the elevator to the penthouse. The first 2 nights went smoothly. However, on the third night, while we were moving supplies in the Wealth Community garage, we suddenly heard footsteps approaching. Mom, who was keeping watch, rushed over to me, panicked. "It's over, that handsome guy is coming this way. What do we do?" 05, I pointed to the side door. "Go in there, and take Little White with you." Mom and Little White, upon receiving the command, quickly ran towards the side door. I closed the trunk of the car and followed them in. After closing the side door, I grabbed my laptop and quickly started typing. I soon accessed the garage's camera system. I saw the security guy enter the garage, look around, and then leave, ensuring no one else was coming to the garage. I opened the side door and continued moving our supplies. Mom sat on the penthouse sofa, looking worried. "Elise, even though it's midnight and people usually aren't around, we can't guarantee that no one will come back late or suddenly decide to go out. If they take the elevator straight to the garage, they'll discover us." I rapidly typed on the keyboard, and after pressing the final key, a slight smile appeared on my lips. "We can definitely guarantee it." "Mom, how can you be so sure?" "Me, I've already hacked into all the elevator and surveillance systems, and designed a security alert mechanism. As soon as someone presses the elevator button to go down, or when someone is detected heading to the garage, I receive an alert," I said, pointing to the Bluetooth headset on my ear. I continued, "All we need to ensure is that no one shows up during the 10 minutes we're unloading the goods into the elevator. If I get an alert, we'll do as we did today, quickly hide in the elevator room and close the secret door." My mom's eyes sparkled as she ran over and hugged me, lavishly praising me without any sense. "My dear, how are you so brilliant?" All I could do was coolly chide her for making a fuss over nothing. Over the next 3 days, relying on this alarm system, we safely moved most of the supplies. I accidentally stepped on the security guard's glasses again, and as compensation, I took him to the eyeglass shop and got him a pair of expensive handmade glasses, which would take 3 days to be ready. We applied a one-way privacy film to all the windows. The original glass was already bulletproof and had excellent soundproofing. As long as we didn't make unusually loud noises, nothing could be heard from outside. Half of the second floor is a terrace, about 120 square meters, which had already been enclosed with glass. After I applied the privacy film, I also installed a rainwater harvesting system. The rainwater passes through 3 filters and flows into a row of water tanks. This water could serve as an emergency supply in case of water cuts, while bottled water was reserved for drinking. To save space, we only stored 500 bottles. I calculated that even if we used 1 bottle every 2 days, we could last for 1,000 days. The balcony was used for more than just storing water. Besides the water tanks, which occupied 20 square meters, I reserved another 20 square meters for growing vegetables, so we could have fresh produce during the apocalypse. Additionally, I set aside 20 square meters for raising Muscovy ducks. Although Muscovy ducks lay fewer eggs than domestic ducks, they are quieter, and since it was just my mother and me, we didn't have high demands for egg production. In a corner, I partitioned 10 square meters for a dry toilet and a septic tank, which might be needed during the apocalypse. I had already prepared the materials and could build it slowly if necessary. In the following days, besides stocking up on supplies, I started installing various devices, such as solar and wind power systems and filters. During this period, news of rabies infections began to appear. I posted on forums that a new virus was invading, encouraging people to stock up on supplies. Given my credibility on the forums and having many loyal followers, many people joined the stocking action. The day before the apocalypse, my mom and I, carrying our suitcases, greeted our neighbors in the community, saying we were going on a trip. We drove around the suburbs for a day and then checked into the top floor of the Wealth Community at midnight. May 31st, the apocalypse arrived. 06, I slept until noon, the most peaceful sleep my mother and I had had in 10 days. Our preparation during those 10 fearful days bought us a moment of tranquility, allowing our constantly tense nerves to finally rest. My mom prepared an extravagant meal of spicy crayfish, fried chicken, and chilled red wine to celebrate our rebirth. As I was ready to indulge, my mom disappointingly pushed a bowl of millet porridge towards me, sweetly saying, "Have half a bowl of porridge first to warm your stomach. Who wants to eat millet porridge with all this delicious food in front of me?" Just as I was about to refuse, my mom batted her big eyes, her voice as gentle as could be. "Just half a bowl." I cringed. "Fine, I'll have it. Just stop that." Satisfied, my mom withdrew her flirtatious expression. After the millet porridge, I eagerly picked up a crayfish, meticulously peeling the shell. A bite of the whole shrimp fills my mouth with a unique, savory flavor. I pick up my glass and clink it with my mom's, taking a sip of the chilled red wine. It's refreshingly delightful. Then I bite into a fried chicken leg. The crust is crispy while the meat inside is tender and fragrant, overwhelming my senses. After eating my fill, I check my phone and, just like before, the top headlines across all platforms are dominated by zombie outbreaks. The incidents of zombies biting humans have become too numerous to cover up. Someone had put together a timeline, showing that the first incidents of people biting others, which occurred a month ago, were actually due to the zombie virus, though at the time, everyone just assumed it was rabies. Subsequent biting incidents occurred, and at that stage, only a few believed these were caused by zombies. Most still thought it was rabies, leading to widespread culling of stray dogs. Then, yesterday, a video went viral again. It showed a boy in white, trembling and crouching by the roadside. A young couple in pink passed by, and the girl, sensing something was off, approached and squatted down to ask him what was wrong. The boy didn't look up but continued to shake, getting no response. The girl stood up to discuss something with her boyfriend. Just then, the boy in white suddenly stood up, lunged at the girl, and buried his head in her neck. Making sucking motions, the girl screamed in terror. Her boyfriend tried desperately to pull the boy away but couldn't budge him. Eventually, several passers-by intervened, and they managed to pull the boy away. The girl, shaking, hid in her boyfriend's arms. The boy in white quickly attacked another passerby, a man in black, and it took a combined effort to restrain him again. They tied his hands behind his back with a rope, and others secured his legs. Despite this, the boy continued to struggle and howl, his face contorted in a way no normal human would. By then, people might still believe it was just a case of rabies, but within 10 minutes, the girl who was initially bitten suddenly turned and started biting her comforting boyfriend. Meanwhile, the man in black who had been sitting by the roadside, also previously bitten, stood up and attacked someone in the crowd. People scattered like ants on a hot pan. Yesterday, this topic was quickly suppressed on social media, even though some began to believe in the zombie virus. No one had anticipated that the virus would spread so fast, leaving no time for preparation. Just that morning, all supermarkets and convenience stores were raided empty. Some managed to take their supplies and hide at home, while others were attacked by zombies while shopping or on their way home. The owners' groups for the 2 residential areas I belonged to exploded with activity, as everyone frantically shared and discussed various videos of zombie attacks. Initially, some rational voices insisted these were rumors, that the videos were fake, but then people started sharing first-hand accounts of zombie incidents, with victims turning and biting others within minutes. Thankfully, they had managed to escape. Eventually, more and more residents reported seeing zombie incidents firsthand. Everyone had to accept that a zombie outbreak had occurred. Those outside rushed home, while those at home worried about dwindling supplies. Meanwhile, in the online forums I frequented, the scene was quite different. My inbox showed 99+ messages, all filled with words of thanks and admiration. "Respect to the master, you saved me. Luckily I followed your advice and stocked up on supplies early. Now I'm safely hiding at home. My family scoffed when I gathered supplies, but now, my status at home has skyrocketed. Thanks to your heads up, I've stockpiled enough to stay home for a year without any issue." These accolades of master stem from the technical tips I used to share regularly, which over time earned me this nickname. It was also due to the influence of this alias that I simply hinted at the impending outbreak and urged everyone to stock up on supplies. When I included a list of supplies in my message, many homebodies believed me and took action. This could be considered a way for my mother and me to give back to society after our rebirth. Although we are safe for now, my mother and I have agreed not to respond to anyone's messages, pretending that we were killed by zombies while traveling. We don't have other direct relatives, and our close friends have already been kindly advised to stock up on supplies. In fact, we have sent them quite a few supplies under various pretexts. This is all we can do in this apocalypse. Keeping a low profile and ensuring our own safety is paramount. Using a telescope, I surveyed the neighborhood. There were no longer the usual crowds inside or outside the complex, just a few scattered individuals. Looking further afield, I saw a dense crowd of people running in this direction. On closer Inspection. The leaders were 2 men and 2 women, followed by a horde with red pupils and ferocious faces. Zombies. These 4 people were being chased by zombies. From my experience in 2 lifetimes, zombies can identify living beings through sight, hearing, and especially smell, which is more sensitive than in normal humans. They have an almost instinctive craving for the scent of blood. Rather than saying their targets are living humans, it's more accurate to say they are drawn to the warm, pulsating blood within these living beings. Blood is what truly attracts them. Although zombies are not fast, they are numerous. The noise made by these 4 people has drawn zombies from all directions toward them, and my heart raced. This undeniably drew all the zombies toward our complex. With such a large number, the entire complex might be doomed. The number of zombies was greater than I expected, converging from all directions toward the 4 individuals, forming an encircling mob which could potentially devour them before they reached the complex. I felt both relief and sorrow, relief that our complex might avoid disaster, but sorrow for these living beings. Realizing this, they changed their strategy and split into 2 groups. The couple dressed in white continued running towards our complex, while the other 2 ran in a different direction, somewhat diverting the zombies' attention. With 4 or 5 kilometers to go, the female seemed to be running out of strength, but fortunately, the male did not abandon her and kept pulling her along. Such solidarity at a moment of life and death was rare. I clenched my fists, hoping they could run faster. With only 1 kilometer left to the complex, the woman slowed even more. At one point, a zombie grabbed her and was about to bite when she screamed in terror. Just then, the man kicked the zombie away and pulled the woman towards the complex. As they approached the entrance, only a few hundred meters away, they were increasingly surrounded due to the woman's slowing pace. Reality is cruel. Originally, one could have survived, but now, because of the effort beyond his capacity, another life must be sacrificed. Just when I thought they were both doomed, the woman suddenly and violently pushed the man into the horde of zombies. The man, stunned, watched her receding back as he was quickly overwhelmed by the zombies. The hot, pulsating blood in a living body is what drives zombies wild, and the man had no chance to struggle or scream before being devoured. Most zombies were attracted by the man's blood, allowing the woman to escape. This moment starkly revealed the darker side of human nature. In the face of death, sincerity is tragically trampled upon. With the man drawing the zombies' attention, the woman safely made her way to the wealth community. Then I saw a familiar figure, the security guard whose glasses I had previously stepped on. He was wearing the handmade glasses I had custom-made for him. Having interacted with him several times before, I knew a bit about him. His name was Cyrus, and he wasn't actually a security guard but a student from the well-known university in our city. He was here because it was only because his father needed to return to his hometown on short notice that he had him fill in temporarily. Cyrus quickly opened the small gate as he saw someone running towards it. Pulling the girl inside, another man used a long stick to forcefully swing at the few approaching zombies, causing them to instantly fall to the ground. The group quickly vanished at the entrance of the complex. I don't know if it was just an illusion, but despite the privacy film, I distinctly felt that the unknown man glanced in my direction before he left. In that moment our eyes met. My heart skipped a beat. He was the stranger who had held us tightly in his arms when my mother and I were attacked by zombies in my past life. I had thought it was just a hallucination before I died, but seeing him now, I was sure it was him, yet I was even more certain that I did not know him. Who is he really? Why did he save us in my previous life? Knowing full well it was a likely death sentence, it seemed less like a rescue and more like a mutual end, and I had a strong premonition that he knew we were recovering. Although his actions in my past life memories seemed friendly, I couldn't find any reason to justify such behavior, so I found no reason to trust him. I quickly checked the security footage of the safety stair doors and the secret door in the underground garage over the past 10 days. These were the only 2 ways someone could access our current location, yet no one had shown up or tampered with these doors during our move. I racked my brains but couldn't figure it out. A gentle and sweet song came from the balcony. I walked over and saw my mom humming while watering the newly planted vegetables with a spray bottle. Mom, do you remember in our past life, when we were attacked by zombies, there was someone who protected us in his arms? I asked. My mom frowned, thinking back. Really, I only remember holding you. In the face of life and death in our past life, my usually gentle mother acted out of character. She fiercely fought off the zombies that grabbed me, desperately protecting me. Feverish and weak, in her arms, under her protection, I managed to hold on a little longer, and at the brink of death, I vaguely saw a stranger's face as he held us tightly. Could it possibly have been an admirer of yours, although I didn't believe an admirer would do such a thing? For someone they hadn't won over yet, I couldn't dismiss any clues. My mom didn't believe it either. How could that be? Besides your dad, who would do such a foolish thing? Do you have a photo? No, I saw it through a telescope. I'll point him out to you next time. My mom nodded. No matter who he was, friend or foe, as long as I secured the 2 doors that accessed our hideout, we were safe. With this thought, I felt much more at ease. 09 tonight, my mom made a crab meat pot. As soon as the lid was lifted, the aroma was irresistible, and the sauce bubbled in the pot. I picked up a crab leg coated in sauce, slurped off the sauce, then cracked the shell and sucked the crab meat and soup into my mouth. It was deliciously fresh and flavorful. Besides the crab, my mom added my favorite dishes like chicken feet, potatoes, and enoki mushrooms. The chicken feet were tender and tasty, delicious enough to lick your fingers. My mom watched with satisfaction as I smeared my mouth with sauce. She definitely played a big part in my current bucket waist. Accompanied by the occasional zombie howls outside, my mom and I sat on the living room sofa, drinking rose tea and watching TV shows. We only had a dim light on in the living room, with the privacy film in place. With the curtains fully drawn, we could relax and enjoy our tea while binge-watching our favorite shows. This practice served a dual purpose. It kept us hidden and protected us from zombies. Zombies dislike sunlight, moving much slower in it than at night, though they are not bothered by artificial light and are actually attracted to it. In the past, many had met gruesome fates due to their homes being exposed by light to hordes of zombies. Throughout the day, our community chat was buzzing nonstop. Following the local council's request, the property managers began a roll call to count the survivors. We, of course, stayed silent. Nobody in the wealth community knew we had moved here, so we were off their radar. However, in the chat group of the old neighborhood, someone mentioned us. Is no one at 203 Surant's house? My mom was quite popular in the community due to her generosity, and quite a few people were looking for her. Someone in the group responded, I heard her and her daughter talking about going on a trip for a few days yesterday morning. She hasn't responded to my private messages. Others chimed in, yes, yes. I saw them with their suitcases leaving the house. It's been a whole day without any news. I fear they might have. Oh my, such a nice family. How could this happen? I still have a box of snacks she gave us. I have some too. My family also received 2 big boxes of baby formula she gave for the kids, plus one. My mom, looking at her phone, sighed. Thank goodness we went on that trip, otherwise it would be hard to stay silent now. I picked up the teapot and poured rose tea into our cups, reminding her, Mom, remember, you can't reply to anyone's messages. We can't expose ourselves or be too soft-hearted. After tasting the rose tea, my mom replied, Don't worry, I understand. I might not think of myself, but I have to think of you. I continued scrolling through my phone, feeling relieved, when a message from the Wealth Community Property Management caught my eye. It read, Urgent notice, all residents please turn off your lights immediately. Zombies are attracted to light. For our safety, please ensure all lights are off. If you must use lights, ensure curtains are fully drawn so no light escapes. The message was sent 3 times. My heart raced. This wasn't an order from the local council, but directly from the Wealth Community Property Management. How did they know about the zombies' phototaxis on the very first day of the outbreak? What am I missing here? I reviewed the chat histories of both communities. The old neighborhood was as chaotic as in my past life, while the wealth community was much calmer, always managing to soothe and advise the panicked residents effectively. This alone didn't prove anything, as the property management in upscale communities is usually more capable, but their anticipation of the zombies' attraction to light was surprisingly prescient. Could it be? A thought suddenly struck me, and I turned to my mom. Mom, is it possible that someone else, like us, has been reborn? Dressed in a white lace nightgown and excitedly abandoning her facial mask routine, my mom hurried over and sat beside me. It's not impossible. After all, if we could be reborn, so could others. Why, did you discover something new? I shared my thoughts with her, her eyes lighting up. It looks like we're not the only ones who have been reborn. Judging by the current situation, if someone from the property management has been reborn, that could actually be a good thing for us. The better prepared they are, the safer we are. True, I replied, but in these end times, it's hard to tell friend from foe. My mom nodded. Right, as long as we don't step outside this house, we are safe. As the apocalypse loomed, my mother seemed remarkably unfazed. After a brief chat, she yawned and went off to sleep her beauty sleep. At that moment, I noticed someone in the group chat voicing the same doubt. How do you all know that the zombies are attracted to light? Soon after, others echoed this question. About 10 minutes later, the property management responded, Dear residents, the information about zombies being attracted to light comes from an insider in a laboratory. Although we cannot be completely sure of the reliability of this information, it's better to take extra precautions when lives are at stake. Judging by tonight's situation, our community has faced much less zombie intrusion compared to others, perhaps due to our lights-off measures. Please continue to be vigilant and don't let your guard down. The response from the property management seemed reasonable, especially since zombies had only erupted today, but cases had been reported a month ago. Wealth Community is an upscale residential area inhabited by the affluent and influential, so it wouldn't be surprising if someone had access to insider information. Could it be that we are overthinking, and there are no other survivors? The night was deep, and after a long time of pondering without reaching any conclusions, I decided to simply go to sleep. Now we must adapt to constant changes. Compared to my previous life where the impending arrival of zombies kept me awake in fear, this time around our sleep was much better. Little White, the robot, connected to the community and the two gates leading to the roof, monitored for any anomalies and would alert me, allowing us to rest peacefully. Had a good night's sleep. The next morning, my mom was making pancakes early. She greased the pan, poured in the mung bean paste, spread it with a spatula filling the pan, then cracked an egg over it. Breaking the yolk and spreading the egg mixture over the pancake, she sprinkled black sesame seeds, briefly cooked it, then flipped the pancake. She spread a mildly sweet and spicy sauce, sprinkled some scallions, placed a grilled sausage and a crispy biscuit, and finally rolled up the pancake and served it. Besides the pancake, my mom also prepared freshly ground soy milk, millet porridge, and cherries. Biting into the pancake, the crust wrapped around the crispy biscuit, mixed with the fragrant sesame and chewy grilled sausage, and just the right amount of sweet and spicy sauce. It was simply a heavenly delight. To have such a simple and delicious breakfast during the apocalypse was a true blessing. After eating, I picked up the binoculars to check the situation around the community. Soon, I spotted a figure both strange and familiar and immediately called my mom. Mom, see if you recognize this person, the man in the blue shirt. In our past life, he was the one who held us in the zombie crowd. Unlike Cyrus's youthful sunshine, this man looked like a successful business professional, about 30 years old, with sharp features and a somewhat stern look. He wore a well-tailored dark blue shirt, looking strikingly handsome. Not to be paranoid, but in these apocalyptic times, why would he bother dressing so sharply? For whom? My mom peered into the lens for a long while without stopping, prompting me to ask, well, do you recognize him? My mom slightly furrowed her brows, turned to me, and asked, you said he was holding us in a crowd of zombies in our past life. I nodded. Yes. She still looked puzzled. I've definitely seen this man before, but I don't really know him well, I urged. What do you mean? She explained. About 2 months ago, your Aunt Susu and I hosted a charity party to raise funds for children in mountainous areas. I was in charge of hosting and some front desk communications. By 10 p.m., I was quite tired and just wanted to wrap up and go home. Some men kept pestering me, and I had to keep smiling and deal with them despite yawning several times. They just wouldn't take a hint and kept babbling on. That's when he appeared. My mom's eyes lit up as she grasped my shoulders, gesticulating animatedly. That's exactly how he pulled me out from the crowd and dragged me to the balcony. Then what happened? Mimicking his deep voice, my mom continued. Then he said, if you don't like it, don't force yourself. I figured he meant if I didn't like socializing, I shouldn't force myself to do it, although it was a bit reckless. He did rescue me from an awkward situation, so I agreed that he had a point. And then, Mom, then he just stopped talking and kept smoking, looking so indifferent, as if someone owed him 3 million yuan. You know how much I hate smoking, so I immediately excused myself and went home. What happened after that? Mom, earlier this month, your Aunt Susu invited me for afternoon tea. When I got there, it turned out he had persuaded Aunt Susu to set up the meeting. He arrived with a large file bag, pulled out various property deeds and bank cards, and laid them in front of me. He introduced himself as Damien, a 35-year-old director and CEO of a biotech company. He said he fell for me at first sight at the party a month ago, and was willing to entrust all his assets to me, hoping I would agree to date him. I gasped, my face a picture of shock. Wow, I didn't realize you still had such charm. Mom gave me a look. I'm not some naive girl who dreams about a powerful CEO falling in love with me. Why would someone with such credentials be interested in me? I'm a whole 10 years older than him. This could either be a trap or he's just a playboy looking for a thrill, which will fade away soon after. You're quite clear-headed. So, you turned him down, Mom? Of course, I did. He looked puzzled and asked why. I had to explain. Our ages, our circumstances, nothing was suitable, and most importantly, I barely knew him, let alone liked him. He took it seriously and tried to logically counter everything I said, claiming he had thought this through over the month. Just because he decided he wanted something doesn't mean I had to agree. After a bit of a lecture from me, he finally took back his documents, listening intently. I was fascinated as my mom took a sip of water and continued. I thought that would be the end of it, but this guy hasn't given up. Every few days, he shows up, always pretending it's a coincidence with that cool, detached demeanor. But why would he want to hold on to us among a crowd of zombies? It can't really be love, can it? I couldn't answer that question, preferring to believe that true feelings are rare in dire times. I started researching Damien on my computer, and surprisingly, I found quite a bit about him. Damien is the eldest son of Dean, the chairman of a well-known real estate group. Unlike his flamboyant half-brother Declan, Damien never uses his father's name. Rumor has it that Dean, originally a humble salesperson from a rural area, made his fortune through his wife but later betrayed her by having an affair and framing her for infidelity with the butler. After his parents divorced, Damien, though staying with Dean's family, took his mother's surname as an adult and built a biotech company from scratch, making it into China's top 100 enterprises. Despite the seemingly strained relationship with Dean, Damien inherited his father's romantic inclinations, frequently changing partners, including internet-famous actresses. Mom, see, just a playboy chasing new thrills. At that moment, I hoped what my mom said was true, just a thrill-seeker, especially since I had discovered something startling. Damien had bought Unit 1901 in the wealth community 5 days ago, the unit right below ours. This coincidence seemed too much. I had thought we had deceived everyone, but it seems that all our actions are under his control. Whether this man is a friend or a foe, he is terrifying. What exactly does he want? Could it really be that he is deeply in love with my mother? If that's the case, given his way of doing things, I can't imagine what he would do if my mother were to fall in love with someone else. For now, we are not directly opposed to him, but I must be cautious around him. Since he dares to monitor us, I should take advantage of the internet to investigate him thoroughly. A month later, under my mother's care, I gained about 5 kilograms. So I started doing fitness exercises with her. During this time, I kept a close eye on the situations in both our old and new residential areas. The property management in the old area had already gone on strike, and several buildings were invaded by zombies. Those without food supplies started to struggle, desperately offering high prices for supplies in our chat groups, but to no avail. In our previous life, it was around this time that we shared some supplies with our neighbors. Not knowing that the property management had already set their sights on us, we were an easy target, a widow and orphan with ample supplies. Regrettably, in our previous life, we focused solely on resisting the zombies and never anticipated that our seemingly friendly neighbors would resort to looting supplies and harming others. One night, through surveillance, I saw 5 men breaking into our house and successfully stealing several boxes of food, although these were not the foods we wanted to keep due to their short shelf life and bulkiness. Seeing these scoundrels again brought back painful memories of being robbed and harmed in our previous life, filling me with rage. I wished I could have poisoned the food, letting them suffer the consequences of their actions, but getting my hands dirty for such scum was unnecessary. The apocalypse did not require my intervention. As they began to move the supplies out, they did not expect that zombies, attracted by the noise, were already approaching. In our previous life, my mother and I were sacrificed by them to save themselves, but they were not so lucky this time. Zombies at night were much more agile than during the day. They pounced on the 5 men like hungry wolves, quickly killing 2 of them. Their screams attracted even more zombies. Those who remained could only try to defend themselves with knives, but zombies neither fear pain nor injury. To make matters worse, the 2 initially bitten soon rose, their faces grotesque, joining the other zombies and turning against their former companions. I thought they were doomed, but surprisingly, one of them managed to escape using his teammates as human shields. Unlike in the past, the commotion was so loud that some witnesses started discussing it in the group chat. Besides condemning the scoundrels, everyone agreed to find whatever weapons they could at home to prepare for self-defense. Compared to our old community, the property management at Wealth Community was like angels. They not only resisted the zombie invasion effectively but also distributed supplies, including seeds and soil, to the residents. They encouraged everyone to be self-sufficient. Such property management was invaluable during the apocalypse, and thanks to their protection, there had been no casualties in Wealth Community. The homeowners chat soon turned into a gardening exchange forum, where everyone shared their gardening tips daily. Those who did well often received much praise. However, some took the property management's help for granted, not only refusing to grow their own food but also making endless demands. If their demands were not met, they would hurl abuses. Just today, a man in his 60s or 70s went to the property office to cause a scene. He was an old man with a reckless attitude, threatening in various ways, acting as if daring others to confront him, which left the young property staff at a loss. His loud complaints were especially noticeable in the quiet of the apocalypse, attracting the attention of zombies lurking in nearby areas, who began to move towards the sounds coming from Wealth Community. After a month of spreading and mutating, if the zombies were to gather, they could easily knock down the walls of the residential complex. The doors would hardly stand a chance. The prolonged peace had made some people forget the terror of the apocalypse. I couldn't help but curse, foolish ignoramuses. If you want to die, don't drag others down with you. Residents began to condemn the old man in the group chat and tagged his son Conrad, asking him to persuade his father. I was Shocked to discover that the old man's son was in the group, was his son just allowing him to create such a disturbance at the property management office? Conrad quickly replied in the group, I can't stop him either. The old man is just worried about his grandson having nothing to eat. If the property management would distribute some supplies, it wouldn't have come to this. We pay so much in maintenance fees every month. Is it too much to ask for some help when we need it? I was stunned too. Learn he even had a grandson. These two were causing trouble without considering the consequences for others. I found it hard to associate them with the terms dad and grandfather. It didn't end there. Conrad started posting pictures of his son in the chat, claiming how hungry and pitiful the child was, continuously playing the sympathy card. Someone couldn't stand it anymore and questioned why they didn't grow their own food. The property management had already given them several special provisions, yet they were still not satisfied. He boldly replied, it's just 3 men at home. What do we know about farming? We can't grow anything. I've never done such work in my life. Other residents challenged him. How come others can grow and you can't? Then, others chimed in. What do you mean everyone else? Don't speak for me. I can't grow anything either. Yeah, why should we have to grow these things? Have we been paying our property fees for nothing? To tell you the truth, I threw it in the trash the first day I got it. What are these property managers even doing? They give us so little for an entire month. I scoffed. These people were just too well protected and hadn't seen the horrors of the zombies. It wasn't that they couldn't grow anything. They simply didn't want to put in the effort. The seeds provided by the property weren't delicate. Even a half-hearted attempt would have yielded something. They didn't realize that the resources they had were something 90% of people outside couldn't even dream of obtaining. Truly invaluable. Now, not only were they causing a ruckus in the group, but they were also egging each other on and had agreed to confront the property management together, demanding an explanation. A large group of residents stormed towards the property management office, their noise growing louder. Meanwhile, at the gate, several zombies had begun to bang on it. The noise from the residents masked the sound of the banging, originally under the guidance of the property management Wealth community was very quiet and quite safe. Early on, the zombies weren't very smart. As long as you didn't expose yourself, they wouldn't notice you, other than a few scattered zombies wandering nearby or a couple blindly bumping into the gate and scratching at it. Wealth community had hardly been attacked by zombies, but now, all that calm was about to be shattered. Not only had these residents become complacent, but the property management was also showing signs of laxity, unaware that danger was imminent. I saw Cyrus running out of the property management office, phoning frantically as he headed towards Building 6 where I was. I accessed several cameras and saw Cyrus entering the elevator in Building 6, pressing the button for the 19th floor. My heart skipped a beat. Damien lived in 1901. No wonder something fell off since the apocalypse. Damien had often been around the property management. On such an occasion today, his absence was conspicuous. If he were a reborn, he would be aware of the risks of making noise. With his capabilities, couldn't he handle this situation? If from the beginning he had kept to himself like us, his absence might be understandable, but he had been involved in property management from the start, and now his indifference was inconsistent with his earlier actions. I can't quite figure out this person's motives. On reflection, Damien has indeed been missing for the past few days. What happened to him, or what is he planning? I don't have time to think too much because I notice that as the property management's dispute gets more intense, more zombies gather at the entrance of the residential area, violently crashing against the gates. Then someone in the homeowners group exclaimed, "Looks like there are zombies at the gate." Holy crap, there really are a lot of zombies. Meanwhile, the property management staff, busy dealing with the homeowners, had not noticed any of this. 14. My mother asked me anxiously, "Are we going to die? Are we going to die?" At that moment, I wasn't sure either. What I did know was that our first line of defense was about to collapse. The gates of the wealth community were soon breached, and countless zombies swarmed in like cockroaches under the scorching sun. The zombies, which should have been slow, had evolved over the past month and were now more than twice as fast as they were a month ago. Just then, I saw Cyrus dash out from Building 6 and run towards the property management office. Is he out of his mind, running over there at a time like this? My mother watched the surveillance screen, speaking anxiously. "He's trying to save people," I replied gravely. I had noticed before that this young man had a pure gaze, the type of person who wouldn't last long in an apocalypse. At that moment, several faster-moving zombies reached near the property management office, and the noisy crowd finally noticed the zombies. As screams erupted, the people at the property management scattered like birds startled by the bow, running towards various buildings. With the crowd in disarray, the zombies' targets also dispersed in the crowd. Only that young man, Cyrus, moved determinedly towards the property management, against the flow. "Poor kid," my mother said, tears welling up in her eyes as she watched Cyrus moving through the crowd. The young man in white ran, aiding those attacked by zombies along the way. Too rushed even to hear a word of thanks, driven purely by instinct to save and to move Forward, finally reaching the property management office, I saw Cyrus carrying an elderly man with a limp leg, running towards the nearest building. Because he was carrying someone, his movements were much slower, barely faster than the zombies, and he had no free hands to fend off attacks, doing his best to dodge the zombies, but as the number of zombies kept increasing, he could evade once or twice. But could he evade 100 times, watching the surveillance? I said rationally, if he were alone, he might have a chance to live, but now, carrying an elderly man, it's just adding another life to the risk. I admit I couldn't be as selfless as Cyrus, nor do I endorse help beyond one's capabilities. I value my own life, my mother softly said. Maybe they can survive together. On the screen, Cyrus was running hard, and the old man on his shoulder started to use his crutch to fend off nearby zombies. Together, they managed to reach the building. However, the door of the building was tightly closed. The people who had hidden inside earlier said, "We can't open the door. Look, he's covered in blood. He might have been bitten by zombies, and if he turns, we all die." Others immediately panicked in agreement. Right, we can't open it," Cyrus explained loudly. "We weren't bitten. It's someone else's blood that splattered on us." Someone inside said, "Let's open the door. He just saved us." Soon someone objected. "How do you know if he's telling the truth or lying? We can't risk so many lives." Yes, if he really is infected, then all of our lives are at stake. He had saved those people, but in the face of life and death, who cared about a lifesaver? They kept the door tightly closed, fearing for their own safety. My mother angrily said, "These people are heartless. The handsome young man really saved them for nothing." I said nonchalantly, "I told you before, it's just adding another life. How can one hope for humanity in the apocalypse?" My mom said, "If I had been there, I would definitely have opened the door for him. Such a good child." I reminded her, "Mom, since we've chosen to barely survive here at the summit, we need to put away our useless sympathy." My mom turned to me and said gently, "Elise, I know you want to save him too." I said solemnly, "We can't save him, nor can we expose ourselves." I was reminding my mom, and myself as well. More and more zombies gathered, and Uncle's strength in swinging his cane weakened. They wouldn't last much longer. They couldn't even seek other ways out. Stepping outside would only lead to being surrounded by zombies. No way forward, no way back. Cyrus had to put Uncle down and take up the cane himself, constantly fending off the advancing zombies. Meanwhile, Uncle was banging on the door, pleading and hoping that someone inside would open it, but no matter how much they begged, the people inside had firmly decided not to open the door. More and more zombies rushed in, and as the young boy exhaustedly swung the cane, he said, "Uncle, I'm sorry, I can't hold on anymore." The zombies swarmed him, and no matter how strong he was, he couldn't hold them off. At the moment of despair, Cyrus suddenly smelled a strong scent of blood. The zombies, previously in killing mode, simultaneously stopped attacking and looked toward the source of the smell. A nearly 1 meter tall, cute white robot carrying a large blood-soaked bag appeared midair, its propeller spinning rapidly above its head, with a bright 5-starred red flag on its belly. "I knew you wanted to save him," my mom said with a smile. I replied while typing on the keyboard, "I'm doing it to save ourselves. If the community falls, we are in danger too. This is our first line of defense." Yes, for ourselves," my mom said, understandingly. "How can Little White, being so heavy, fly?" I spent a month improving Little White, planning that if zombies ever broke through our door, it could still carry us to safety. After years of development, Little White could now perform simple tasks autonomously, so I just needed to assign tasks to it and intervene when necessary. Our building is backed by a mountain, so I just had to send Little White around the surveillance blind spots to fly down without exposing ourselves. My only worry was that, in trying to save these people, Little White hadn't been tested thoroughly enough. I hoped there wouldn't be any serious problems. From the monitor, Little White seemed to be doing well. I had added a blood scent enhancer to the blood bag, and as the blood dripped down, the strong smell attracted the zombies to move towards the outside of the community. Cyrus took this opportunity to help Uncle back to the property office. However, just as they were leaving, a scream suddenly came from the previously closed building. "He's turned, open the door quickly." The door was flung open instantly, and a crowd surged out from the building. The one who had turned was a middle-aged man in a red t-shirt. In that brief moment, 2 people had already been bitten, and those bitten soon rose from the ground to attack others. My heart tightened. Why had the man in the red shirt taken so long to turn? Moreover, he was noticeably more agile than the others. After a massacre, the red shirt zombie roared, and the other zombies seemed to respond to it as if they sensed it. They followed the red shirt zombie towards the open building. I was shocked. It had somehow evolved intelligence. What's terrifying is that it can lead other zombies through the surveillance. I saw them violently slamming against the front doors of the residence on the first floor, and soon they broke into the first household. Screams of agony echoed from inside. I broke out in a cold sweat. If they concentrated their efforts and attacked each household one by one, such a large horde of zombies would spare no one. My mom suddenly exclaimed, pointing at her phone in panic, "Elise, The residents' chat group says they're planning to take refuge on the top floor. A month of harmony was shattered. This was the first time everyone truly faced the zombies since the apocalypse began. Lives were being lost right before our eyes, and the residents were in a state of panic, especially those on the lower floors who knew they'd be the first targets if the zombies invaded. So, someone suggested that everyone should bring their supplies and move to the top floor, which was unoccupied and had a private elevator, making it the safest place. My mom mentioned that the person who proposed this was an old acquaintance. After my dad's incident years ago, our housekeeper was unavailable, so my mom had paid her a high price to help pick me up and had given her an elevator card. Before the apocalypse, my mom had even sent her some supplies. With bloodthirsty zombies ahead and covetous neighbors behind, my temples throbbed. Once we were exposed with such abundant supplies, who wouldn't be envious? I vividly remembered experiences from my past life. In the residents' chat group, someone cautioned, "Isn't this trespassing into people's homes? Is that really okay?" My mom's acquaintance replied, "This is the apocalypse, brother. What's more important than life? Besides, those people might not even be alive." I knew these people were determined to proceed. I quickly gathered more locks and reinforced the security door of the stairwell. Then, I brought over the remaining bricks and cement from the dry toilet construction and began preparing to build a wall. My hands-on skills had always been strong, which turned out to be very useful during the apocalypse. My mom kept a close eye on her laptop, monitoring the surveillance videos in the chat group, and kept me updated. She didn't understand and asked, "They're going to the private elevator, not the stairwell. Are we not doing anything about it? They won't be able to come up." I responded while continuing my work. Seeing my calm demeanor, she didn't ask any further. After a while, she sighed in relief. "The elevator cards really didn't work. Did you tamper with them?" "I changed the access cards a long time ago. No one but us can come up. They say the elevator isn't working, so they'll use the stairwell." My mom said nervously, "Will we finish building the wall in time?" "I'm not sure how long the security door will hold. Building a wall will at least be somewhat safer." Luckily, I had planned to start building the dry toilet, so the bricks were already soaked and ready to be used. My mom expressed her concern. "What if we haven't finished the wall and they come up? If it comes to that, we'll retreat back into our home, but they probably won't make it up here anytime soon." "Why?" my mom asked. "That lady is foolish." She announced it in the group, trying to gather others for courage, so they could boldly occupy our house together. But what really tests people in an apocalypse is human nature. Our home's prime location is enviable. If they occupy it, it means others will miss out, so I bet there will be those who will sabotage and stop them from coming up. After preparing, I started building the wall, planning to erect a plain concrete wall where the new wall met the old. To reinforce the structure, I embedded steel bars every 60 centimeters. The silent drill I had prepared for doomsday played a crucial role at this point. Fortunately, the door wasn't very large, so I managed to brick it up in an afternoon. Now, I just need to wait for the wall to fully dry. Although this wall won't provide 100% blockage, something is better than nothing. If it doesn't hold up, we're not defenseless. If they dare to intrude into our homes, we have every right to defend ourselves. My mom, seeing how hard I worked, specially prepared a dinner of roasted lamb leg and pan-fried prawns as a treat. She said a good meal would give me the strength to keep working, and I gladly accepted with enthusiasm. The enticing aroma of chili mixed with cumin and lamb had me drooling. Eating roasted lamb isn't a delicate affair. Its essence lies in the hearty enjoyment of tearing into chunks of meat. I grabbed the lamb leg, bit down hard on the meat, and tore off a piece, separating it completely from the bone, savoring each bite. The lamb was crispy on the outside and tender inside, deliciously smoky without being greasy or gamey, with the delightful taste of cumin making it sinfully good. The pan-fried prawns were equally superb, with their crispy shell and tender meat, irresistibly delicious. After a satisfying meal, my mom made some lemon blossom tea to cut through the richness. She sipped her tea while keeping a close eye on the homeowners group chat and the surveillance feed, anxious not to miss any useful information. The coverage of the surveillance cameras was incomplete. Currently, only the stairwell entrance at the parking level, which is underground, and the 1820th floor, which I had equipped with a camera, were monitored. The other floors were unmonitored. Thus, we were unsure if those people had come up or reached any specific floor. My mom sighed and said, "Your guess was spot on. They're cursing in the homeowners group, complaining that some residents lack civic-mindedness by blocking the safety stairwell, preventing them from passing." I chuckled. "It's all about survival. No one is nobler than anyone else." My mom sighed. "In just one day, what was once a harmonious group is now filled with hostility." I replied, "Harmony only exists when resources are plentiful. Once there's a tilt or shortage in resources, that balance is disrupted, and the darker side of human nature emerges, my mom said. I hope these days end soon, I responded. It's not going to end that quickly. We're likely to face cuts in water, electricity, and internet soon. Before that happens, we need to deal with the zombie in the red dress, or we may not make it until the end of this crisis. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless one, with the zombie in the red dress leading other zombies in a massacre throughout the building, screams echoing continuously. At 2 a.m., I dressed Little White in black clothes and sent it with supplies to the property management office. Little White tapped gently on the window. Having seen it during the day, Cyrus quickly opened the door to let it in. Here, take this bread, water, and some clothes. I spoke into the headset, my voice transmitted through Little White. Cyrus, looking bewildered but curious, accepted the food and eyed Little White. Thanks, you really saved me today. My name is Cyrus. May I ask who you are? I knew he had many questions, but I couldn't reveal my identity, so I made up a story. My name is Little White, a robot specially developed by the state to combat zombies. I was sent here today on a mission to rescue you. Considering your brave actions today, I'd like to partner with you to defeat the zombies and protect humanity. Cyrus's eyes lit up. Okay, let's do this. I will not let the nation down. How should I proceed? I chuckled inwardly, thinking to myself how gullible this young man was, almost endearingly so. With a serious lip to match his earnest expression, I said, I plan to launch a counterattack against the zombies. Tomorrow the next day at noon, Little White appeared in front of the rampaging zombies, carrying a bag of blood. Hi, I greeted. Perhaps Little White's appearance was quite distinct from humans, as I noticed the zombies in red clothing seemed momentarily confused. However, they were quickly drawn by the strong scent of blood and madly charged towards Little White. Little White, rolling quickly on its wheels, dashed down the stairs with a string of zombies in pursuit. The red-clothed zombie was noticeably faster than the others, coming close to catching Little White several times. Together, they left the other zombies far behind. Little White led the zombies to the security room in the residential complex, throwing the blood bag inside. The zombies rushed in after it. The room was filled with high-concentration alcohol and flammable materials. As soon as the zombies entered, they slipped and fell. Cyrus, who was hiding nearby, immediately threw a bucket of alcohol on them and quickly shut the door. Then, he tossed a lighter through the window and pulled it closed. The zombies' screams echoed through the complex. The security room was the only standalone building nearby, which effectively prevented the fire from spreading. That was why I chose it for the ambush. However, the red-clothed zombie was stronger than we anticipated. It furiously banged against the door, which trembled on its hinges. My heart pounded. If it got out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fortunately, Cyrus quickly grabbed a thick stick to barricade the door, and Little White extended its mechanical arms to help. Just as the door was about to give way, I shouted, Cyrus, run. Cyrus hesitated. I urged him, I'm a robot, I'll be fine. Only then did Cyrus nod and hurried towards the property management office. In the next moment, the zombie broke through the door, a flaming figure rushing out. Little White quickly moved towards the entrance of the complex, the flaming figure in hot pursuit. Just as it was about to catch Little White, the figure collapsed to the ground. I breathed a sigh of relief. After the zombies left the building, lacking direction, they aimlessly wandered around. Little White again used the blood bag to lure them out of the complex. For the moment, it was safe. In the residents' group chat, someone posted a video of today's events. Everyone praised Cyrus and Little White's heroic actions and condemned those in the building who had refused to open their doors the previous day, calling them inhumane. Seizing the moment, Cyrus urged everyone to work together to protect the complex, reminding them that they were a community with shared interests. All for one and one for all. His call to action surprisingly led many residents to join the defense team, and everyone began to actively contribute ideas and strategies for resisting the zombies. The person who had initially tried to take over our house also temporarily abandoned their plans. Everything seemed to be returning to normal, but my concerns remained. We had only eliminated one red-clothed zombie. What about other places with evolved mutants? How long could this peace last? Another puzzling point was the evolution of the other zombies, which seemed gradual. How then did the red-clothed zombie appear? According to the zombie evolution model I had created, it was nearly impossible for such intelligent, leader-like zombies to emerge at this stage. My mother said, natural evolution can't explain this. Could it be man-made? After all, who can predict virus mutations? Her words were enlightening. Indeed, if natural evolution was unlikely, then human intervention made sense. If we tentatively conclude that it was man-made, then surely some organization or laboratory was researching the zombie virus. The outbreak could either be due to a leak from a lab or perhaps it was all an experiment, with the virus deliberately released to increase the sample size. There are two plausible scenarios for the emergence of the red-clad zombies. The first is purely coincidental, where the virus mutated uniquely within the body of the man in red, a possibility which While slim, cannot be entirely dismissed, the second scenario suggests deliberate release of a new strain of the virus, engineered to preserve higher cognitive functions in zombies. The reason why the red-clad zombies have not spread widely is that the virus significantly weakens after secondary transmission. I find my own speculations terrifying, though they are purely conjectural. They are not beyond the realm of possibility. I attempted to search the internet for more information, but just as I stumbled upon some clues, the internet went down. I quickly switched to a SIM card from another provider, but still had no connection. The signal towers had fallen. As a programmer, losing internet access felt like losing my arms. I was cut off from the outside world. Consequently, I could no longer control Little White. 19. A month after the internet went down, our water and electricity followed suit, but these losses hardly affected us. We had solar power, plenty of bottled water, and rainwater collection systems in place to sustain us for a couple of years. However, during this period, I could only observe my surroundings through a telescope. What really got under my skin was Little White, who, having lost my control, only occasionally returned home, spending most of its time with Cyrus. Little White, a robot capable of autonomous action, began to develop its own consciousness without my guidance. It seemed to explore its gender identity, even donning a pink dress, while completely forgetting about me, its creator. I felt like my own creation had been taken over by someone else. Fortunately, I had programmed it never to reveal my information, or who knows, it might have betrayed me. Over the past few months, our wealth community occasionally faced attacks from zombies, but thanks to our defensive measures, there were no casualties. However, one night, I felt inexplicably restless and got up to look through my telescope. To my surprise, I observed a brutal attack over in Unit 3, where a man and a woman were committing murder and robbery. The female assailant looked familiar. It was her blue-dyed hair tips that jogged my memory. She was the girl who had pushed a boy towards the zombies to save herself on the day the outbreak began and had made it into the wealth community. I wanted to inform Cyrus but couldn't, as I had no way to summon Little White back without internet. Watching the crime unfold, I felt utterly powerless. It wasn't until 3 days later that Little White returned home. I instructed it to inform Cyrus about the incident and mandated that it return home daily or it would not be allowed out again. That very night, Cyrus and the community's defense team apprehended the couple. However, deciding their fate posed a challenge. According to Little White, some suggested expelling them from the community. They were outsiders who had been sheltered by the community but had shown no gratitude, repaying kindness with malice. Cyrus initially opposed taking justice into our own hands, suggesting they be handed over to the police after the apocalypse. But his stance changed after he saw the gruesome scene at the victims' homes. The couple was eventually expelled from the community, a decision that served as a stark warning to others not to harbor ill intentions, as the defense team would no longer protect them. The following days were relatively peaceful, and suddenly, on January 1st, the internet was restored. This was a joyful development, signaling that significant progress had been made in the fight against the zombie plague at the national level. Later, government drones visited several times, broadcasting messages that research on the zombie virus was nearing a breakthrough and urging everyone to hold on a little longer. During the months without internet, I hadn't been idle. With the restoration of connectivity, I tested the miniature spiders I had developed and deployed them. Half a month later, at 3 a.m., I slightly opened my window, and 3 black miniature spiders equipped with surveillance systems crawled out. They climbed the exterior of the building to the 19th floor and slipped into room 1901, where Damien was, through the gaps around the door. Originally, when Cyrus came up to room 1901 to find him, Damien didn't let him in. They just talked at the door, with such caution and secrecy. I had long suspected he was involved in something clandestine. Through the surveillance footage, I witnessed a shocking scene. The entirety of room 1901 resembled a laboratory. All the windows were sealed off with adhesive tape, completely opaque. Other than Damien, there were 2 men and a woman living there. They were dressed in white protective suits, constantly manipulating sophisticated instruments and recording data into computers. It was evident that Damien was the leader among them. However, he no longer looked as well-groomed as when we first met. Instead, he appeared somewhat disheveled, with a beard that hadn't been shaved for days. Despite this, the excitement in his eyes was unmistakable, even through the screen. This scene made me wonder if the outbreak of the zombie virus could be connected to him, and why were they conducting their research hidden away in here? I decided to hack into their system to find out what they were really up to. Unexpectedly, it seemed Damien was prepared, as their defense systems were robust, and I couldn't find a way in at first. It took me an entire week to access a portion of their data, although I didn't get the full picture. I could confirm that they were indeed researching the zombie virus. According to their communication logs, they had recently made significant breakthroughs. The zombies, having evolved naturally over 6 months, were becoming increasingly formidable. If these researchers managed to develop a super virus, what would become of humanity? What could Damien possibly gain from destroying humanity? Why would he do this, regardless of his reasons? I knew I had to stop him. The first thing that came to mind was to gather evidence and report him. As I pondered this, I glanced unintentionally at my laptop's surveillance feed and suddenly saw Damien staring right at me. He'd discovered me. Those unfathomable eyes, even through the screen, sent chills down my spine. He moved closer step by step until his face filled the screen. Then he gave a sinister smile. "You're quite clever. Now, guess what all this is about?" The screen shifted, and I saw a familiar face, one that often appeared in my dreams. I couldn't believe my eyes. It felt as if someone had doused me from head to toe with ice-cold water, leaving me numb. It was my father, his eyes tightly shut, looking just as he did when he left us. The next moment, the surveillance was cut off. I collapsed to the floor, my heart racing uncontrollably. Why was my father there? I wanted to rush down and confront Damien, but reason told me not to be impulsive. After what felt like an eternity, my mother, slowly waking up, saw me sitting on the ground with a ghastly pale face, startled. She hurried over, her voice filled with concern. "Have you been up all night?" I asked. "Mom, who exactly is Damien? Why is Dad with him?" My mother paused, perhaps hesitant to meet my questioning gaze. She bowed her head as tears began to fall, whispering, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep it from you. So you knew all along. Tell me, what's really going on?" My voice was calm, yet it carried a hint of anger. "It turned out I was the only one kept in the dark," my mother said. "I'm sorry, Elise, I'll tell you everything. 8 years ago, your dad and Damien's mother were in the same hospital room, and we got to know each other as family members of the patients. At that time, he was at a low point in his life, full of youthful passion, just like your father when he was young. At your father's suggestion, I sponsored him. He wanted to give me shares, but I declined as I wasn't in need of money. So, he asked me what I wanted. I said I had only one wish, that my child's father could live well. Later, when your father was no longer able, he suggested that we cryogenically freeze him so that he could be revived when medical technology advanced sufficiently. I agreed. He then devoted himself tirelessly to his research. I had little hope, as it seemed impossible for someone to be brought back to life, but he persisted quietly for 8 years. After his revival, I urged him not to dwell on the past and to live well, yet, he claimed he was close to success and asked me to wait a little longer. He moved to the wealth community to continue his research in peace, and so that if your father were revived, we could be there to meet him immediately. I didn't dare tell you because the chances of revival were slim, and I didn't want to give you false hope. When your father passed away, you had a fever for an entire month, which really scared me. With tears in my eyes, I asked pointedly, "You were researching the zombie virus, causing so many deaths. Did you ever consider if my father would agree to this, being such a kind and righteous person? How could he wish to be revived in such a form?" My mother, crying as if her heart would break, shook her head. "No, Damien said the zombie virus came from abroad. He was merely building on that research. If it were really possible to revive your father, there are no ifs. Dad can't possibly be revived. Do you believe everything Damien says? How can you be so naive? Did you know that the recent outbreak of the red dress zombie virus originated from Damien's lab? Even if Dad were to come back, he'd just be a mindless zombie." I shouted at her, but my mother refused to face reality, desperately shaking her head and clutching her knees, repeating over and over, "You're wrong. He said it's possible. He said it is." My head buzzed, throbbing painfully, and the next moment I passed out. I dreamed of my dad, healthy and well. He held my hand and took me on a Ferris wheel, but he also scolded me, saying I shouldn't be so harsh on my mom. He told me that while she seemed to be doing well these past few years, it was all a carefully constructed facade. When I woke up, I found myself in bed, too weak to even move. As I stirred, the fever patch on my forehead fell off, and I realized I was feverish again. Ever since my dad passed away, stress would often trigger my fevers, leaving me completely debilitated. "Mom," I called out a few times, but received no response. Suddenly realizing something, I panicked and struggled to get out of bed. I accidentally knocked over a table by the bed, scattering white pills from a vitamin bottle across the floor. Picking up the pills, I realized they were not vitamins at all, but sleeping pills. It turned out she had never let go. All these years she had been trying to live, to make friends. I thought she had moved on, but in the end, it was all an illusion. 21. I crawled to the computer, directing Little White towards 1901. Cyrus, confused, he caught up quickly, and I had no time to pay attention to him as I was solely focused on reaching the 19th floor as fast as possible. Damien was the only resident on the 19th floor. And unusually, the usually closed door was left open. As soon as I entered, I saw Damien with his back to us, facing my mother. My mother was holding a lit lighter, and her normally resolute expression briefly faltered when she saw us. I also noticed the experimental table and the floor covered with a transparent liquid alcohol. My mother intended to destroy everything. I quickly shouted, "Mom, don't be rash." I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. Damien quickly echoed, "Yes, don't be." Impulsive, he moved closer to my mother as he spoke. "Stay back," my mother threatened, gesturing to drop the lighter. "Okay, I won't move." Damien stopped advancing, his tone sincere. "Everything I've done is for you. We're about to succeed, and you will soon see Tao alive. Put down the lighter, and let's talk this through." Hearing my father's name, my mother hesitated. I mustered all my strength to shout, though my voice was still weak. "Mom, do you still believe his nonsense? Just open the door behind you," Damien interjected. "No, listen to me." Suspicious, my mother took a few steps back and opened the bedroom door. Inside, 2 men and a woman were tied up, their pupils blood red and their faces fierce, no different from the zombies outside. Shocked, my mother looked at the scene. "Is this what you call research to revive you, Tao?" Damien hurried to reassure her. "No, my research has made new breakthroughs. It can preserve human intelligence and consciousness without turning into zombies." The weak, my voice was piercing. "Damien, they were your colleagues. Weren't you all researching together just a few days ago? How quickly they've become your test subjects." My mother and Cyrus looked incredulously at Damien, and I continued, "You claim to do this for my mother, but in reality, you've become obsessed and lost your way. Ask yourself, are you trying to revive my father? Or are you just satisfying your mad fantasies? For this research, you've even killed your own kind. What makes you different from the zombies outside?" Damien retorted loudly. "What do you know? What scientific research doesn't require sacrifices?" Cyrus added, "Damien, they are living people. How can you use them for experiments? You once helped to save so many lives. Why have you become so cruel now?" Tears filled my mother's eyes. "All of this started because of me. I am sorry for those who have died. Let me end this all." She turned to Cyrus, her eyes pleading, "You're a good kid. Please take care of Elise for me." Startled, I barely had time to react before I saw my mother throw the lighter at the experimental table. Flames ignited instantly, and the alcohol that had splashed onto my mother's position quickly spread the fire. I quickly maneuvered Little White towards my mother, pulling her, already caught on fire, out of the room. Cyrus swiftly rolled her on the ground several times to extinguish the flames. Anxiously, I asked, "How is my mom? Why are her eyes closed?" Cyrus checked her breath and listened to her heartbeat before saying, "It's okay, she has just fainted." Relieved that my mother was all right, I finally couldn't hold on any longer. I passed out. Later, I heard from Cyrus that the moment the fire broke out, Damien immediately ran to the lab bench. His clothes quickly caught fire, but he disregarded his own safety and desperately tried to protect the research materials. Eventually, the flames were extinguished by everyone's collective efforts. But by then, the people and objects inside had already been destroyed. Months later, the country finally developed a medicine to combat the zombies. They organized professional teams to spray the medicine into every corner of the buildings. The zombies that were sprayed with the medicine began moving slower and eventually fell to the ground. The apocalypse was finally over. The survivors cheered and jumped for joy. I pushed my mother's wheelchair out of the neighborhood, and the law-mist sunlight felt so warm on our skin. "Mom, the apocalypse is over. Can you stop sleeping? Please, wake up."